Faced with his brother's question, Fang Yuan did not speak. He continued eating his breakfast. He knew his younger brother's character. Fang Zheng was not someone who could keep in his composure. Sure enough, Fang Zheng saw that his older brother did not even bat an eye at him, as if Fang Yuan pretended he was air. In the next moment he called out in a tone full of unhappiness, "Big brother, what did you do to Shen Kui? Ever since she came out from your room yesterday, she cried all over the place. When I comforted her, she cried even more." Fang Yuan looked up at his younger brother, his face expressionless. Fang Zheng frowned, staring firmly at his older brother, waiting for his reply. The atmosphere was growing tense. But Fang Yuan just looked at him for a second before he lowered his head and continued eating. The younger brother Fang Zheng was immediately flustered. Fang Yuan's attitude was clearly an undisguised contempt towards him. Under shame and frustration he banged his hand on the table, roaring loudly, "Gu Yue Fang Yuan, how can you act like this? Shen Kui as a servant girl has served you for so many years. I have seen her gentleness and care towards you. Yes, I know you feel lost, and I can understand your dejected feelings. Yeah, you're just a C-grade talent, but it doesn't mean you can vent your anger on others just because of your own misfortune. This isn't fair to her." He had barely finished when Fang Yuan stood up, raising his hand in a flash. Slap! With a loud snap he gave Fang Zheng a solid smack. Fang Zheng covered his right cheek, stumbling 2 steps backwards, his face full of shock. "Useless bastard, what kind of tone are you using to talk to your own older brother? That Shen Kui is just a servant girl. Just because of a lowly girl like her, you would forget that I am your older brother," Fang Yuan reprimanded in a low voice. Fang Zheng finally reacted, his stinging pain on his face surging through his nervous system in waves. He stared wide-eyed, his breathing rough as he said in disbelief, "Big brother, you hit me. From the time I was still young until I grew up, you have never hit me before. Yes, I was found out to be a grade talent, you were just C-grade. But you also cannot blame me for it. This is all the arrangement of heaven." Slap! Fang Zheng had not finished speaking, yet Fang Yuan used the back of his hand and smacked him again. Fang Zheng covered both his cheeks with his 2 hands. He was stunned. "Naive fool, do you still remember? From young till now, how did I take care of you? When our parents died, our life was hard. During New Year, aunt and uncle only gave us both one new robe. Did I wear it? Who did I give it to wear? When you were small, you loved to eat sweet porridge. I would tell the kitchens to make another bowl for you every day. When you were bullied by others, who brought you back? Not to mention a ton of other things I don't feel like it is worth talking about. Well, right now, because of a maid, you would talk to me like this, coming to question me." Fang Zheng's face was red. His lips trembled, ashamed and annoyed, as well as surprised and angry. Yet he was unable to say a single word of rebuttal. Because everything Fang Yuan said was the truth. "Whatever," Fang Yuan sneered. "Since you even gave up your own biological parents and admitted someone else, what am I worth to you as merely your big brother?" "Big brother, how can you say that? You also know that I have always longed for the warmth of a family since I was young, Fang Zheng immediately explained. Fang Yuan waved his hand, stopping his brother from continuing. "From today onwards, you are not my little brother, and I am no longer your older brother." "Big brother," Fang Zheng was surprised, opening his mouth to say more. At this moment Fang Yuan spoke, "Don't you like Shen Kui? Don't worry, I didn't do anything to her. She's still a virgin, untouched and pure. Pass me 6 primeval stones and I'll pass her to you. From today onwards she can be your personal maid." "Big brother, why are you?" To have his inner thoughts revealed out loud so suddenly, Fang Zheng felt a surge of panic, feeling rather unprepared. But at the same time his heart was assured. The one thing he was worried about the most did not come true. Not long ago in the night, Shen Kui personally served and washed him. Even though nothing important happened, Fang Zheng could not ever forget the gentleness of that night. Every time when he thought of Shen Kui, he would remember her skillful hands and her soft red lips, and his heart would throb. The sincere feelings of youthfulness had long planted itself in the young man's chest, starting to grow. Thus, when he learned about Shen Kui's unusual state last evening, a bout of anger immediately burst from his heart. He instantly gave up refining his moonlight goo and turned the village inside out trying to find Fang Yuan, wanting to make a statement. Seeing Fang Zheng not replying, Fang Yuan frowned and said, "Love is very normal, be more honest. There's no use hiding away. Of course, if you don't want to exchange, then that's fine." Fang Zheng was anxious on the spot. "I'll exchange. Why would I not exchange? But the primeval stones on me are not enough for 6 anymore." As he said this, he took out his money pouch, his face red all over. Fang Yuan took the pouch and found 6 pieces in it, but one of the stones among them was smaller than a normal primeval stone by half size. He immediately knew that Fang Zheng had absorbed the primeval essence from this stone to speed up the process of refining his moonlight goo. After all, the more natural essence gets absorbed from the primeval stone, the smaller the stone becomes, and its weight will also become lighter. Even though it was just 5 pieces and a half, Fang Yuan knew these were all the primeval stones that Fang Zheng had in his possession right now. Fang Zheng had no savings on his own, and these 6 primeval stones were what aunt and uncle had given to him not long ago. "I'll keep these, you can go now." Fang Yuan's expression was cold as he tucked the bag away. "Big brother," Fang Zheng wanted to say more. Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly, speaking in a slow and leisure manner. "Before I change my mind, you better disappear from my eyes." Fang Zheng felt his heart tighten. He gritted his teeth and finally turned and left. When he stepped through the doorway of the inn, he subconsciously covered his chest with his hand, feeling a wave of uneasiness. There was a feeling that was telling him that he had just lost something very important. But very quickly he felt hot as he thought of Shen Kui and that dreamy night. "I can finally have you rightfully as mine, Kui." He did not look back and walked out of Fang Yuan's sight. Fang Yuan stood expressionless. He stood for a long time, then he finally slowly sat down. The bright sunlight passed through the window, shining onto his indifferent face, making those who saw this feel somewhat cold inside. The business in the cafeteria was rather poor, and the streets grew busier with people. The noise and excitement from the bustling crowd traveled over, making the place feel quieter. The dishes grew cold. A worker came up attentively, asking if Fang Yuan would like to reheat his breakfast. Fang Yuan did not hear it. His gaze kept shifting like a cloud, as if he was reminiscing some old memories. The worker waited for a while, but as he saw Fang Yuan in a trance, never saying a single word, he could only rub his nose and walk away bitterly. After a long time, Fang Yuan's eyes became focused again. The past memories in his heart were like smoke, they had already dispersed away. He returned to reality once more. The sunlight that flowed and shone over half the table. The hot air that wafted out of the dishes had already disappeared, and the bustling noise of the crowd on the streets traveled into his ears. He reached into his robes and patted the 5.5 primeval stones at his bosom, his mouth curling into a bitter and mocking smile. But the smile was quickly cast away. "Waiter, go and reheat these dishes for me." Fang Yuan took a look at his dishes and faintly opened his mouth, shouting away. At this moment his eyes looked so chilly. "What, your older brother really said that?" In the hall, Uncle frowned, his voice cold. Aunt sat aside, looking speechlessly at the fresh red handprint on Fang Zheng's cheeks. "Yes, when I met Big Brother, he was at the inn eating breakfast. The entire thing went like this," Fang Zheng replied politely. Uncle's frown deepened, all condensed into 3 black lines. After a few breaths he sighed and said in a solemn tone, "Fang Zheng, my child, you must remember this. The maidservant Shen Kui is not Fang Yuan's personal property. We assigned her to him. How can he use her as a trading item, if you wished for it? You should have told us earlier on. We would just assign her to you. Ah, Fang Zheng was stunned as he listened to this. Uncle waved his hand. You can take your leave. You gave all your primeval stones to Fang Yuan, so I'll just give you another 6. Remember, use them properly on refining your goo and seize number 1. We will be very proud of you when you do. Father, your child is ashamed. Fang Zheng was suddenly moved to tears. Uncle sighed and replied, just go, hurry back to your room and refine your goo. You don't have much time left. When Fang Zheng took his leave, Uncle's face revealed a ferocious and angry expression. Bang! He hit the table with his palm using great force, hissing, HMPH, this damn bastard. He actually took our workers to do an exchange. He's really cunning. And advised, husband, calm your anger. It's just 6 primeval stones. What do you understand, woman? This Fang Yuan is only a C-grade talent. If he wants to refine the moonlight goo, he would need primeval stones. With his weak experience of a first-timer, 6 primeval stones won't be enough to refine it. But now that he has 12 pieces, it will be more than sufficient. Uncle was so furious he gritted his teeth. He added, a goo master's cultivation will very swift as long as there are enough resources and no obstacles. In 2 or 3 years, the clan will be able to produce a rank 2 goo master. The lower Fang Yuan's cultivation rank, the smaller his hopes of trying to seize the family inheritance 1 year later. Right now he is still young, just starting to cultivate. We shall hinder him and let his starting process fall behind those at his age. The academy resources are always awarded to excellent students. With his latent talent, once he falls back, he won't be able to get any resources. Without the help of resources, his cultivation will fall even further. With this vicious cycle, I would like to see if he has the ability to inherit the family inheritance a year later. Ant did not understand. Even if we do not stop him, he would at most be at rank 1 middle stage a year later. Husband, your cultivation is at rank 2. Why are you still afraid of him? Uncle was so angry he stomped and said, Woman, you really are a case of long hair but short insight. With just my identity as the senior, should I really beat down the younger generation? If he wants to get back the inheritance, it is reasonable and cannot be stopped directly. I can only fight back using the clan rules. It is stated in the clan rules. To be head of the house at 16 years old, the person must have at least rank 1 middle stage cultivation. Otherwise it means that Fang Yuan will have no right to waste the clan resources. After I have said this, do you understand now? Ant was enlightened. Uncle narrowed his eyes, a glint in his gaze. He shook his head a little, sighing as he said, Fang Yuan is just too smart, too cunning. He could even see through a power play. What kind of intellect is this? Scheming and calculating at such a young age, how terrorizing. Initially I was going to continue plotting against him, yet he moved out straight away. I wanted to further rely on Shen Kui to monitor and trouble him, but in the end he went away and even earned 6 primeval stones. Alas, if he could be as stupid as Fang Zheng, that would have been great. Oh right, from today onwards you must treat Fang Zheng better. He isn't a grade talent after all. Not to mention I can see that he has feelings of dissatisfaction and unhappiness towards Fang Yuan. These emotions are a good thing. They must be guided properly. I have a sort of feeling that he will become the best tool to deal with Fang Yuan in future. In the blink of an eye, 2 days had passed. In the room at the inn there were no lights. The moonlight poured in, casting a color of frost. On the bed Fang Yuan sat cross-legged, his eyes closed. He moved his green copper primeval essence, concentrating his mind on refining the liquor worm. On its body, a small cut had already been dyed the green color of green copper, but the liquor worm's will was still as tenacious as ever. It constantly struggled in the midst of the ethereal primeval essence. Fang Yuan's refining process was not going smoothly. It was very difficult. I spent 2 days and 2 nights, only resting 2 hours each day, and I spent 12 pieces of primeval stone, but only managed to refine around 1/15 of progress. Calculating according to the time, I guess someone will succeed in refining their goo in these few days. Fang Yuan could see the situation clearly. However, his talent was a poor grade anyway. Add on the liquor worm that he was trying to refine having an incredibly tenacious will to live. It was even stronger than a normal moonlight goo. The resulting situation of falling behind was normal. A moment of falling behind is nothing as long as I have the liquor worm. Fang Yuan's heart was clear like a mirror, not a single trace of anxiety and discouragement in him. Suddenly, the liquor worm curled up into a ball. Oh no, the liquor worm is counterattacking. Fang Yuan instantly opened his eyes, a hint of astonishment in his gaze. Before him, the liquor worm had curled into a round little dumpling, fiercely giving out a blinding white light. It was risking everything in this one last stand. At once Fang Yuan felt a strong will coming out from the liquor worm's body, flowing directly through the primeval essence and descending into the primeval sea in his aperture. The situation where a goo counterattacked was incredibly rare. Only goo with extremely strong will would give their all. It was either success or death. In the face of such a scenario, the usual teenager would be panicking right now. Though he was surprised, Fang Yuan did not panic. In fact, he was somewhat delighted. Staking everything in one last attempt, this is also a good thing. As long as I can handle this counterattack, the liquor worms shall greatly weaken. However, I need to put full focus into fighting back against this will. I cannot receive even the slightest outside interference. Or else that would be bad, Sai. But I hope no one will come and disturb me during this period. His thoughts finalized. He was ready to gather the primeval essence in his aperture, ready to accept the liquor worm's will. He would be entangled with it and fight it 300 rounds. But at this moment, a miraculous event happened. In the middle of his aperture, just above the sea high in the air, a goo appeared. Boom! A mighty strong breath erupted from this goo. This breath was like the Milky Way pouring out, and floodwater rushing down from the mountains. Yet, it was also like a dreadful beast whose dignity was offended that opened its scarlet-red eyes and looked around to see who would dare to violate its territory. This is the spring-autumn cicada. Seeing this goo, Fang Yuan was completely shocked. I will keep on going forward 3 years, 6 years, 9 years. In this period of time, some of you may leave temporarily and some will always stay. In the busy process of human life, we constantly mark our constant existence, and we all prove to each other that we have lived before. I had imagined this sort of scenario. When we are old, you all will look at Gu Zhenren this ID and will laugh in your hearts. Oh, it's him. When I was young, I have read his book before. I even gave him a recommendation vote. Maybe I will open my previous layout and see all these familiar IDs, those that have rewarded, voted, and commented before. I will reminisce the times when I was writing alone. These names were the company of my long and difficult journey, giving me warm little lights. Right here in the book is a small little twist. Fang Yuan will begin to truly show his unique style. Those who were able to read up till here are predestined. I guarantee you right here, this book will become more and more exciting. During the process of refining, the goo counterattacked. At this time, the liquor worm that had inherited the flower wine monk's extremely strong will invaded his aperture, brazenly counterattacking at Fang Yuan. This strong willpower descended from above, surging down towards the bottom of the aperture where the green-copper primeval sea was. The waves in the sea tumbled, setting off bursts of high tide. Under Fang Yuan's will, large amounts of primeval essence rose upwards to the sky and gathered together, forming a towering monster wave, brazenly accepting the incoming liquor worm's will. Just as both sides were about to collide viciously in the middle of the aperture, a faint image of a goo worm emerged in a blank area between the two energies. This was a cicada. The cicada's body was not large, if the moonlight goo was described as a blue crystal shaped like a curved moon. Then this cicada would be a delicate craftwork that was made from palm wood and tree leaves by a master craftsman. The goo sported a brownish-yellow head and abdomen. Its surface had the texture of a tree's growth rings, as if it had witnessed countless years. On its back were two very wide and translucent wings, like two tree leaves overlapping. The wings had similar structure. This structure was like a typical net vein leaf. The center had a coarse stem, and from this stem sprouted out a network vein of leaf lines on both sides. The spring-autumn cicada. It had been startled. It was just like a giant beast, usually hiding in its cave in a deep sleep. But suddenly it was awakened, furthermore learning that its territory had been violated. Who dares to come into my turf and act wildly? As if its dignity was offended, the spring-autumn cicada was angry and let out a whiff of aura. The aura was weak yet powerful. It was like the surging Milky Way, rolling forth with vast and mighty waves. It would sweep across mountains for 10,000s of miles, or submerge a broad desert. To be compared to this aura, the liquor worm's will was like the case of an ant meeting an elephant. The aura swept around and expanded, just like a raised, invisible tsunami. The invading will of the liquor worm did not even have the ability to withstand it. It was immediately swallowed whole by this aura. Fang Yuan felt depressed. The green-copper primeval essence that he had thrust forward with his might collided with this aura like it was a wave crashing onto a great mountain. In a moment, the condensed primeval essence disintegrated and dispersed into rain, scattering down to the primeval sea. The waves on the primeval sea rose one after another. It was like a rainstorm had just swept across, increasing its turbulence. But after a few seconds, the spring-autumn cicada's aura spread down, pressing onto the primeval sea. Boom! Fang Yuan felt like he heard a buzz. In an instant, the rolling waves on the sea calmed down. The spring-autumn cicada's aura firmly repressed the entire primeval sea, just like an invisible mountain pressing down. The surface of the sea was calm like a mirror, not a single wave rolling about. It was like an originally crumpled piece of paper, a boundless giant hand covering over it suddenly, flattening it. This was easily an incomparable power. Fang Yuan felt a pressure weighing like an enormous, invisible mountain pressing down on his heart. He compared it to Sun Wukong being pressed down by the five elements mountain. Fang Yuan could not even mobilize a single pint of primeval essence. However, although he was shocked, he was not afraid. In fact, his heart felt great joy. I didn't think the spring-autumn cicada would actually follow me and be reborn together. So it's actually not a one-time use goo worm, but one that can be used again repeatedly. The spring-autumn cicada was a rank 6 grade, and it was the first rank 6 goo in Fang Yuan's previous life, as well as his last. Just to make it, Fang Yuan had used all means and resources, wasting an incredible amount of strength, using 30 years of fermenting to finally succeed. But not long after he succeeded, when the spring-autumn cicada was still fresh from the oven, warriors of the righteous faction felt Fang Yuan's threat and gathered together to attack and kill him. After being reborn, Fang Yuan did not find the spring-autumn cicada, so he thought it had died. But in reality, it had fallen into a deep sleep, resting inside Fang Yuan's body. To travel back 500 years in an instant was a huge blow to its vitality. It was too weak, so weak that even Fang Yuan as its master could not feel it. Right now, even though the spring-autumn cicada had appeared, its situation was still bad. After being reborn, it had always been resting in a deep sleep. To appear right now was because it had felt the danger that the aperture was facing. It could be said that the liquor worm's will had awakened it. It was weak, very weak, extremely weak. In Fang Yuan's memories, the original spring-autumn cicada was full of vitality. Its body was like a precious floorboard, giving out a warm and glossy varnish. Its two wings were verdant green, like two soft tree leaves that had just freshly sprouted. But right now, there was a strong and deathly chill emanating from the body of the cicada. There was no shine or gloss from its body, making it feel rough and dim like dead wood. Its wings were not the color of soft and green leaves. They were fully yellow, just like the withering leaves of autumn. The tips of its wings were slightly rolled up, a little incomplete, just like the corner of fallen leaves. Seeing this, Fang Yuan felt both distressed and lucky. He was distressed because the spring-autumn cicada suffered such a heavy blow. It was barely a step away from death, just a foot away from the edge of a cliff. The fortunate thing was, thank heavens the spring-autumn cicada was weak to this point, or else he would be in great trouble. One must know, between a Gu master and a Gu, both must complement each other. The best would be both having the same rank. A rank 1 Gu master should use a rank 1 Gu. This was the most appropriate. If the Gu's grade was lower than the Gu master, when the Gu master uses it, it would be the equivalent of a strong man carrying a small stick. The strength output would be small. If the Gu's grade was higher than the Gu master, when the Gu master uses it, it would be the example of a small child carrying a heavy axe, unable to wield it properly. The spring-autumn cicada was a rank 6 Gu, and Fang Yuan was just a rank 1 initial stage Gu master. To use an image as example, the spring-autumn cicada would be a mountain, and Fang Yuan would be a squirrel. If the squirrel wanted to use the mountain to beat its enemy, the squirrel would just be squashed flat by the mountain at the first second. If the spring-autumn cicada was at its peak state, Fang Yuan's weak rank 1 aperture could not even tolerate it. The majestic aura of the cicada would just make the aperture burst to death. Fortunately, it was at its weakest state, so Fang Yuan's aperture could accommodate it right now. I gave up the moonlight Gu, going through all the lengths to find the liquor worm just to refine it into my vital Gu. But in reality, I already had a vital Gu from the start. The spring-autumn cicada is my vital Gu. Fang Yuan's heart was filled with emotion as he felt the close connection between him and the spring-autumn cicada. The vital Gu is the first Gu that a Gu master refines. It is terribly important and would affect the future development of a Gu master by a large extent. If a vital Gu is well picked, the Gu master's development will become smoother. When the vital Gu is of a poor grade, to a Gu master it would just drag down his cultivation and let peers surpass him. The more important thing is that it would affect the matter of life and death in a battle. Fang Yuan was clear on this point, so he was not satisfied after choosing the Gu Yue village's signature Moonlight Gu. He just had to go all the way to find the liquor worm. In his memory to a rank 1 Gu master, the liquor worm was already considered a high-quality pick. The Moonlight Gu was just a choice that was slightly above average. But life is fascinating, because no one will ever know what is waiting for him or her at the next moment. Fang Yuan had refined the spring-autumn cicada in his previous life. After his rebirth, the spring-autumn cicada fell into a deep sleep, but the connection between them still existed. In fact, Fang Yuan found that, as if going through the refinement of the river of time, his connection with the spring-autumn cicada had grown even closer and mysterious than his previous life. It was just because the spring-autumn cicada was too weak, so Fang Yuan was not aware of it. Therefore, in the real sense, the spring-autumn cicada is the first Gu that he had refined. The only thing was that the spring-autumn cicada was not refined in his current life, but the result of hard work in his previous life of 500 years. The spring-autumn cicada was Fang Yuan's vital Gu. A rank 1 Gu master, having a rank 6 vital Gu. If this sort of thing was said out loud, it is expected that no one would believe such a thing. This has already broken the limits of human cognition. But yet that is exactly what happened. The truth is beyond doubt. The liquor worm as a vital Gu is already one of the best choices, but when you compare it to the spring-autumn cicada, it is just like scum on the ground. My vital Gu in this life is actually the spring-autumn cicada. Ha ha ha. The immense joy he felt did not overcome his mind. He quickly calmed down and started to consider the consequences that the spring-autumn cicada would bring to him. The spring-autumn cicada's ability is rebirth. But right now it is at its weakest state. At the instant I use it, it'll die. However, it is still a rank 6 goo, so I can totally use its aura. This won't do any damage to its body. He. After he finished pondering, he closed his thoughts and opened his eyes. The liquor worm was hovering before him, shivering in the midst of the smoke-like green copper primeval essence that had surrounded it. Earlier, because it wanted a chance to survive, desperation drove the liquor worm risk everything on a single throw. Yet in the end, its will was easily defeated by the spring-autumn cicada's aura. Due to this, it suffered a heavy blow, its current strength not even 1% of the original will it had. Spring-autumn cicada. With a simple thought, Fang Yuan released a small trace of the spring-autumn cicada's aura. This aura pressured onto the liquor worm's body. The liquor worm immediately stood still, motionless like a dead creature. It scattered will felt the spring-autumn cicada's aura, like a mouse that had run into a cat. It was frightened. It shrank into a ball and was too afraid to move even a slight bit. Fang Yuan laughed and took the opportunity to mobilize his primeval essence. In the beginning, when he tried using his green copper primeval essence to refine it, the liquor worm's will resisted fiercely, so it could only expand arduously bit by bit. But right now, Fang Yuan's green copper primeval essence drove straight in, flowing vigorously without resistance. There was no obstruction at all. The green copper color on the surface of the liquor worm rapidly expanded. In a few winks, the once pearl-white liquor worm was fully dyed green. The general situation had passed. The last remains of the liquor worm's will was finally washed away easily by Fang Yuan's will, dissolving into nothingness. With that, the liquor worm was fully refined. Compared to the beginning, where Fang Yuan had to endure hardship akin to trampling mountains and crossing ravines, the refining process right now was as easy as swallowing saliva. A kind of mysterious and cordial feeling connected the liquor worm and Fang Yuan together. The refined liquor worm was like a part of Fang Yuan. If Fang Yuan told it to huddle up, it would curl. If he told it to curl into a ball, it would curl into a round little dumpling. The feeling was like moving his own finger. Fang Yuan took back his primeval essence, and the liquor worm returned to its fat and white state. Then, with a leap, it went through thin air and plunged into the middle of Fang Yuan's aperture. When it was inside, the liquor worm flew a distance away around the hovering spring-autumn cicada and entered the green copper primeval sea. On the sea surface, the liquor worm stretched its body arbitrarily. Occasionally, it would twist around its chubby waist, appearing comfortable as if it were bathing in a hot shower. With the spring-autumn cicada, my plans will have to change. Fang Yuan gathered his mind away from the aperture and took out the moonlight goo. He repeated what he did earlier, letting out a hint of the spring-autumn cicada's aura, pressing it down on the moonlight goo. As it felt the spring-autumn cicada's aura, the moonlight goo will immediately surrendered, its fear so great its will could only turtle up in the furthest corner of its own body. Fang Yuan's primeval essence poured in. In the blink of an eye, the moonlight goo was dyed a jade green color. Finally, with just a simple thought, the moonlight goo will was easily strangled. After he was done, he took back his primeval essence, and the moonlight goo returned to its original, semi-transparent, blue crystal form. He put away the moonlight goo. It did not enter his aperture, but instead directly dropped onto his forehead, forming a pale blue crescent mark in the middle of his brow. The entire refining process of the moonlight goo from beginning to end did not take more than 5 minutes. Comparing the start of his difficult refining process to the situation right now, the speed was rapid and created a sharp contrast. Not only was it very fast, the consumption of primeval essence was also very little. For the past few days, Fang Yuan had consumed 6 pieces of primeval stones just to refine the liquor worm. But tonight, While Fang Yuan could see the bottom of the primeval sea in his aperture, he did not use a single stone. Ha ha, with the spring-autumn cicada at hand, it is as easy as having a god's help. After today, all I just need to do is use its aura to pressure down. Any rank 1 goo will be easily refined. Even though I only have C-grade talent, I don't need to borrow the help of primeval stones. The difference of before and now is like heaven and earth. Fang Yuan's mood was joyous. Right now his situation was like pushing away the mist and cloud to see the blue skies. Although the spring-autumn cicada was at its weakest point, it was still a rank 6 goo. A fallen tiger still leaves behind threat. A festered ship still has 3 pounds of nails. Just relying on its aura, Fang Yuan's cultivation from today onwards would receive a huge driving force. At this moment, the moon outside the window was bright and the stars were few. The moonlight flowed through the window, shining on Fang Yuan's face. Initially, I thought I wouldn't be able to get number 1, but the road twisted and turned unexpectedly. Time waits for no one. I must go to the academy now and receive the top prize. Fang Yuan's eyes glistened. With a thought, the spring-autumn cicada faded away from view and disappeared once more, returning to its deep slumber. Then he called out the liquor worm and hid it away at a corner of his bed. This was to prevent the academy's unnecessary examination. 15 minutes later, in the clan academy. The academy elder had long gone to bed, but in his dreams he could vaguely hear the sound of somebody knocking on the door. He was awoken by the noise and he opened his eyes, rather displeased. Who is it outside there in the middle of the night? Instantly a voice replied in a respectful tone, reporting to Sir Elder. It is a student from this year's batch. He has already finished refining the moonlight goo. You have instructed your subordinates earlier to report to you the very instant the first name appears, no matter what time it is. Well, it's true that happened. The academy elder frowned and then he got off his bed. As he put on his robes, he asked, which student is it that got number 1 this year? Is it Yue Fang Zheng? The subordinate outside the door replied, It seems so. The moment I heard the news, I hurried over here to tell you about it, sir. It seems to be someone from the Fang family branch. He, counting the time, it is probably him. The academy elder laughed lightly, confidently saying, Who else could it be besides the grade talent genius? All those B-grade talent students would still be worse even with the help of primeval stones. Or else why would the grade of cultivation talent be so important? As he said this, he pushed the door open and came out. Outside the door, his subordinate respectfully bowed, moving 2 steps backwards. Sir is right, he echoed. In the hall, 10 candles or so burned together, brightening up the hall. The man who had received Fang Yuan had already cleared up all doubts by now. Under the bright light of the candle fire, his face showed a stunned expression. Wait, what did you just say? You are called Gu Yue Fang Yuan, not Gu Yue Fang Zheng. Fang Yuan nodded. At this moment, the elder walked in from the entrance. Fang Yuan and the man stood up and turned around to greet. When the academy elder saw Fang Yuan, his face was full of smiles. He strode over and stood in front of Fang Yuan, patting his shoulder in a friendly manner. You did well, Gu Yue Fang Zheng. You did not disappoint me. You are indeed a grade talent genius. All those B-grade, C-grade peers of yours will never compare to you no matter how hard they try. Ha ha ha. Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng were twin brothers. Their outer appearance was similar to a fault. Even the academy elder was mistaken. Fang Yuan was neither haughty nor humble. He took a little step back, letting his shoulder free from the academy elder's hand. He stared at the academy elder, his hands folded behind his back. Then he said with a faint smile, Sir Elder, you have been mistaken. I am Gu Yue Fang Yuan. Gu Yue Fang Zheng is my younger brother. Huh? The academy elder opened his mouth slightly, his expression startled. He glared at Fang Yuan doubtfully, his brow turning into a frown. After a few breaths, he finally spoke. You are Gu Yue Fang Yuan. Correct, sir, Fang Yuan replied. You have refined the Moonlight Gu. The Academy elder was extremely surprised. His two eyes glared firmly at Fang Yuan's crescent mark on his forehead. His eyes were shining. He was asking the obvious. Indeed, that is the case. Fang Yuan said. Then, you are first of your batch. The Academy elder was asking stupid questions, but he was not entirely at fault. After all, this situation was entirely out of everyone's expectations. One must know that he had been in charge of the academy for decades and is extremely experienced. He had seen C-grade talent students contending for #1 before this, but it was never this early. Not to mention that in this batch there were peers with A and B grade talent. If there is no one earlier than me. Fang Yuan pretended to be in deep thought, then he rubbed his nose and continued, then it seems like it. The academy elder. The sky was not yet bright, and the sun had yet to rise. The east sky just began to turn bright, the dark colors in the sky slowly fading away, the smell of the night still remaining in the air. The streets were empty, then came the sounds of quick footsteps. The early dawn mountain air was moist, yet Gu Yue Fang Zheng did not feel the slightest cold rush. His heart was full of surging enthusiasm. His face blushed red, and now he was walking swiftly toward the academy. I have been cultivating hard these few days, spending 2 primeval stones. I did not sleep at all last night, and I've finally successfully refined the Moonlight Gu. I am in a grade talent, and I was so hardworking. No one can be faster than me, no one. Father and mother, I told you I won't let you feel disappointed. When he thought of the moment where he told his aunt and uncle about the good news earlier, they expressed happiness and relief, making Fang Zheng feel a surge of joy and pride. Just wait, all you clanspeople who look down on me and Big Brother. From today onwards, I shall make you all look up to me, Gu Yue Fang Zheng. The more he thought, the more Fang Zheng felt excited. He could not help but clench his fists, and his pace quickened a little more. He came to the academy entrance. The academy's 2 guards looked at him strangely. They asked him, Gu Yue Fang Yuan, why are you back? What Big Brother was here just now? When Fang Zheng heard them, his face showed a hint of surprise and puzzlement. Ah, whatever. He would never have guessed that Fang Yuan would snatch away #1. He shook his head and cupped his hands together, his tone carrying a trace of arrogance. 2 elder brothers, I am not Gu Yue Fang Yuan, but I'm Gu Yue Fang Zheng. I have already successfully refined my vital Gu, and I am here to come and take the top prize. You are Gu Yue Fang Zheng. You brothers are just 2 alike. No wonder the academy elder was mistaken, the guard on the left side shouted, his eyes widening. The guard on the right shook his head and said, You came 1 step too late. Just last night in the late hour, your older brother Gu Yue Fang Yuan came and met with Sir Elder and took the top prize. My older brother. Fang Zheng suddenly opened his eyes wide, crying out, Wait, you said he'd gotten #1. How can this be? Isn't his big brother a C-grade talent? Getting #1, this has to be a joke, right? It's true. How could we possibly joke around with this matter? Seeing Fang Zheng in disbelief, the guard seemed somewhat unhappy. This matter has been confirmed by the academy elder. In due course, the name list will be released and announced. What's wrong? Your older brother did not tell you about it, the other guard added. Fang Zheng just stood silly at the door. The truth was so much different from his imagination. Right now, he just could not understand what had just happened. In Fang Zheng's heart, there were several illusions of his adversaries. Among them, the ones that brought the most threat were 2 Yue Mo Bei and Gu Yue Kai Lion. These 2 were of B-rank talent. Behind them were the clan's 2 largest family branches, and each of them had a grandfather that carried huge authority as elders, as well as sufficient financial power. If any of these 2 people won first place over him, Fang Zheng's heart and mind was still prepared. Even though he would feel a sense of loss, it was still acceptable. But right now, the one who took away number one was not Yue Mo Bei or Gu Yue Kai Lion. It was not even any of the opponents in his heart. But it was Gu Yue Fang Yuan, his older brother. That person with a C-grade talent. That person who fell downhill and turned dejected after the awakening ceremony. That person who slept soundly in class all day. That person who was always heavily drunk and never turned home at night. That person who bullied Shen Kui, slapped him twice, and took all his primeval stones away. That person who always held him down, just like a shadow entrenched in his heart. How can it be like this? It can't be possible. In a short while, Fang Zheng roared in his heart. I was so hardworking, but he just drank every day until he became drunk, and yet in the end he was the one who got number one. Is this even fair? Why? Why? The sun rose from the east, the birds chirped around, and the overflowing air of spring took over Qingmao Mountain. Gu Yue Fang Zheng bathed in the warm sunlight. He slowly lowered his head, gritting his teeth, looking at his own lonely shadow. The excitement in his heart had turned into a balloon that leaked air, long dissipating. Instead, what took its place was the emotions of confusion, resentment, unwillingness, puzzlement, fear, and other complicated feelings. As time went by, the sun climbed higher. The Academy bulletin wall had posted a new name list, and on the list were just two names, firstly Fang Yuan, and then Fang Zheng. Following the appearance of this list, the news gradually spread out. After hearing the news, all those young students who had been bent on refining their gu at home after receiving one were in an uproar. How can it be like this? If it was Fang Zheng who got number one, I would still have believed it, but it's Fang Yuan. Isn't he a C-grade talent? Could there have been a mistake? The grade talent Fang Zheng actually lost to the C-grade talent Fang Yuan. Is this Tales from the 1001 Nights? The Mo Branch family home. The greenery in the courtyard was overflowing, the fragrance of tea dancing about. One of the clan elders of the Gu Yue clan, Gu Yue Mo Bei, was sitting in front of his desk, looking at the spring scenery outside his window. He leisurely drank his tea and said, Mo Bei hasn't continued refining his gu. The housekeeper standing at a side hurriedly replied. After he heard about news concerning Fang Yuan in the afternoon, young Master Mo Bei seemed to be deeply affected and has no mood to continue refining the moonlight gu. It is a pity young Master Mo Bei was just so close to succeeding. Actually, if Fang Zheng got number one, it could still be ignored, but it just has to be that C-grade talent Fang Yuan. So young Master Mo Bei lost his interest. It can't be helped. HMPH, do not excuse him. Gu Yue Mo Chen snorted coldly, his face stern and his tone hard. A gu master's cultivation process is full of hardship each step. What is a small setback like this? That Fang Yuan is just a C-grade, so to be able to get number one, it is presumably because of luck. The moonlight gu that he chose must have had a weak will, so that is how he could snatch the top. If Mo Bei can't see through this and let such a small setback get to him, then how is he supposed to be in charge of our Mo family branch in future? How can he compete with the Kai family branch? No one is allowed to advise him. Let him think about it by himself. Yes, master, the housekeeper did not dare refute. Almost at the same time, in the home of the Kai family branch, Sai Gu Yue Feng Yuan, the clan elder Gu Yue Kai Lion, gave a long sigh, his brows held down in a frown as he thought, waving his hand around. Someone, call young Master Kai Chen over, please. In a moment, Gu Yue Kai Chen walked into the room with a lost expression, kneeling down with respect. Your grandson greets his grandpa. Seems like you already know about the news. Gu Yue Kai Lion stared at his only direct grandson, his tone gentle. He slowly said, I called you over to prevent you from getting influenced by this matter. You see, when refining the vital gu, firstly one looks at the talent, secondly at the gu worm. Fang Yuan's talent is just C-grade, yet he was able to gain number 1 this time. This means that the goo he chose compared to all the moonlight goo your peers have, has a will that is much weaker. This is entirely due to luck. So my grandson, do not be discouraged, this is nothing really. He is just a C-grade talent, though he is the same as you, but his supply of resources is not as well as yours. His road to advancement will also be harder than yours. Believe your grandpa, you will soon surpass him. Hence you should put away this trivial matter. Fang Yuan will not be your opponent, and is not worthy to be your adversary. Your real enemies are the grade talent Fang Zheng and the Mo family's Mo Bei. Do you understand? Yes, thank you for your advice, Grandpa. I understand. I will go now and continue refining my goo. Gu Yue Kai Chen had lost the sad expression on his face, replacing it with a high-spirited will to fight. MMM. Elder Gu Yue Kai Lion nodded his head, satisfied. A kindly smile emerged from his face and he said, "Good grandson, while your talent is only C-grade, but you can be rest assured that Grandpa will fully support you. Later on, I will come out and use the aura of a rank 3 goo worm to suppress your moonlight goo's will and help you refine this goo." The sky was blue and clear, looking pure as if it had been washed clean. The sun was shining golden. Puffs of white clouds floated away, and a group of colorful peacock parrots chirped as they flew beneath the blue sky, forming an arrow formation under the clouds as they soared. This variant of colorful parrots would only appear in large groups during springtime. Their bodies were littered with feathers the color of the rainbow, their bodies the size of an eagle. The birds had parrot beaks, while their tails were that of a peacock's flowing long tail. It had been 10 days since the day Fang Yuan managed to acquire number 1 in the test to refine the vital goo. The spring breeze blew over the whole mountain's green grass, while the wild flowers bloomed eagerly, and the bees and butterflies danced around together. Life was surging all around. It was the wonderful beauty of spring. The breath of spring was so strong that the tall bamboo walls surrounding the training grounds could not hold it back. This training field occupied 3 mu. The ground was flat, paved with a layer of thick and wide gray graphite. Its 4 sides were planted with green spear bamboo. These green poles were placed closely together side by side, straight and tall, forming a circle of green high walls. While below the wall corners were stone as well, clumps of green grass emerged from many areas. In between the bamboo were also some wild roses, poking in from the outside, a few even climbing the wall. 57 young teens at the age of 15 were standing in the midst of the training field right now, formed in a semicircle around the academy elder who was in the center, putting their focus on him. This was a lesson to teach the students on how to use the moonlight goo. The moonlight goo is our Gu Yue clan's symbolic goo, just like the Qing house's bear strength goo and the Bai house's stream goo. The majority of you on the field have chosen the moonlight goo as your vital goo, so you must all watch properly. Soon, I will demonstrate personally how to use the moonlight goo to attack. Students whose vital goo is not the moonlight goo must also concentrate on me, as this classical long-distance attacking method can also be used on other goo. The spectrum of methods one can use is very wide. As he spoke, the academy elder stretched out his right hand, his 5 fingers opening wide. He lowered his palm so that the young teens could see the center of it. Firstly, you use your mind to mobilize the moonlight goo, moving it to the center of your palm. Following his voice, the crescent mark that represented the moonlight goo moved down the elder's arm and into his palm. Then, you mobilize the primeval essence in your aperture, pouring it into the moonlight goo. A thread of white-silver-colored primeval essence gushed out from the elder's body, so fine it was almost impossible to see. It entered the moonlight goo in his palm. The academy elder was of a rank 3 realm, and only rank 3 goo masters could produce white-silver-colored primeval essence. Rank 1 goo master's primeval essence was commonly known as green copper primeval essence, while Rank 2 Goo Masters had theirs called Red Iron Primeval Essence. When they reached Rank 3, it becomes White-Silver Primeval Essence. Once it absorbed the thread of White-Silver Primeval Essence, the crescent-shaped mark in the Elder's hand instantly glowed brighter and brighter. Although it was daytime, it still issued a brilliant pale blue light. "That's awesome! How beautiful!" The youngsters could not help but let out praises of surprise and amazement when they saw it. The pale blue light was clear like water. It flickered faintly in the Elder's palm. At first glance it would seem as if the Academy Elder's hand was scooping a handful of moonlight. The Academy Elder smiled a little. "Now watch carefully. The last step is just like how I will do it, launching it out." As he said this, his widely opened 5 fingers slowly closed together. Then he lifted his arm up and slowly moved it forward, his arm straight. Finally, he waved his palm lightly in a cutting motion. The entire movement was steady and powerful. Swoosh! The young students could hear a light brushing sound beside their ear. Following the Academy Elder's movement, the condensed, water-like pale blue light in his palm was thrown out like that. The light transformed into a small moonblade in the air, the faint blue moonblade only the size of a wide-open hand, the shape just like the crescent moon in the night sky. It drew a straight line in the air before it hit a grass puppet 10 meters away. A tearing sound was heard, and the grass puppet's neck that was about 30 centimeters thick was cut clean by the moonblade. The puppet's body swayed about, the huge head suddenly falling onto the floor. After cutting the grass puppet into half, the moonblade immediately appeared dimmer. However, it continued flying about another 6 meters in the air before the crescent began to gradually fade away, finally dissipating in the air. Looking at the grass puppet's neck again, one could see that the cut area was extremely flat, as if it was cut away by the sharpest sickle. The youngsters were all shocked as they saw this, their eyes wide open. A few of them even touched their own necks involuntarily, astonished by the attacking power of the moonblade. After a short silence, the sounds of exclamation began. The teenagers had shining eyes as they stared at the grass puppet, some of them staring at the Elder's palm. A few of them were looking at their peers, talking and whispering excitedly. Only Fang Yuan stood hidden in the crowd with a cold expression, his stature calm. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had cultivated to rank 6, and he had created the Blood-Winged Demon sect in the Middle Kingdom. He taught tens of thousands of people, and was reputed as a giant figurehead of the demonic faction, his fame illustrious. The Academy Elder was just a rank 3 Goo Master. This small trick was just child's play to him. It would not cause any ripple of emotion in Fang Yuan's heart. "All those of you who have refined the Moonlight Goo, step out. Each one of you shall take a grass puppet and follow the way I just did it, throwing out the moonblade, practice attacking." Once the Academy Elder was finished, around 30 students stepped out. In this batch, the entire clan had 100 young teens joining the awakening ceremony. Those who had cultivating talent were around 57. Among these students, those who had chosen the Moonlight Gun numbered around 35. After going through these few days of hard work, they had all refined the Moonlight Goo. Those that were left were all D-grade talents. It was not because they did not desire to refine the Moonlight Goo, but it was due to the inability of their talent, so they could only withdraw after learning of the difficulty. To the youngsters of the Goo Yue clan, the Moonlight Goo was not a simple goo worm, but the symbol of the clan's glory. Very quickly 35 of them stood in a row. Each of them faced forward, standing 10 meters away from a grass puppet on the opposite. Fang Yuan stood in the middle of the row, but he did not garner any attention. The practice began. The students all stretched out their right hands, letting the Moonlight Goo move to the heart of their palm. One by one, the blue crescent mark started to give out water blue light as green copper primeval essence was poured in. But when they drew a vertical cut with their palm, only 7 or 8 crescents flew out. Among these crescents, some of them only appeared for a short moment before dissipating away. Some flew out for 2 to 3 meters before disintegrating into blue light with a bang. Some flew further, but the direction was severely off course, flying straight up to the sky. The young teens all frowned. When they saw the elders' demonstration earlier, it seemed quite easy. But when they started practicing themselves, they realized the skill required in this action. To throw out a moon blade and to have it hit on the grass puppet, it really was not that simple. The elder had a faint smile as he watched. He saw this scene every year and was not surprised. The remaining 22 students could only stand outside the field, watching jealously. After practicing for 5 minutes, the youngsters were gradually able to produce moonblades. For a time in the training ground, pale blue-colored moonblades flew about everywhere. A few moonblades would fade halfway, a few unluckily crashing into another. Some flew out of the training field, twisting around. Those that were able to hit on the grass puppets were just a small few. Of course, these were all due to sheer luck. The academy elder started to tutor and guide each one personally. He focused greatly on Fang Zheng, Mo Bei and Kai Cheng and those others with good latent talent. He patiently corrected their postures, teaching them his experience. Towards those C-grade talent students like Fang Yuan, he only mentioned 2 sentences. Fang Yuan kept condensing the blue light in his hand. He waved his palm a few times, cutting the air, but he did not release the light, pretending and acting. With the field a mess at the moment and no one focusing on himself, he moved his thoughts and released his hold on the moonlight goo, his palm tilting a little, making a cutting action. In order not to raise attention, he did not focus on his own grass puppet opposite him, but aimed at the one on his left. With a whoosh, a moonblade flew out quickly, passing through the center of chaos, drawing a straight line in the air and cutting accurately into the neck area of a grass puppet. The grass puppet wavered for a moment, the neck area cut deeply by the moonblade. But very quickly, the green grassy area that was cut began to regrow, tangling together and healing away the wound. Of course, this grass puppet was not a normal scarecrow. It was a rank 1 scarecrow goo, having the nature-type ability of self-recovery. Unless the puppet was cut into half at once, it would just recover back to normal in a short while. Wow, look at that crescent. How cool, who threw it? Moonblades that were able to hit grass puppets right now were rare. Fang Yuan just casually hit one, yet it caused the most significant results so far. Thus, in an instant, the students outside the field gave out cries of surprise. Even the academy elder's attention was caught, and he asked, "That moonblade just now was not bad, was it?" He looked at a C-grade talent student with an inquiring eye, since that grass puppet was just opposite him. This male student blinked his eyes, feeling somewhat bewildered as he faced everyone's sudden gazes at him. To be honest, the field was just in a chaos earlier with moonblades flying about, so even he did not know if it was he himself who threw it. However, looking at it, it probably is me, thought the young boy. Then he nodded his head subconsciously. The youngsters around him immediately looked at him with admiration. "Who is he? What is his name?" some of the girl students asked around. "Even he can throw out a moonblade. I must not lose." Gu Yue Mobei's eyes flashed with a hint of determination. "So it's not Big Brother who threw it." Gu Yue Fang Zheng inexplicably sighed with relief. After uncle and aunt consoled him, he was able to recover from the previous blow. "Big Brother, you won first place last time because your luck was good, picking a weak-willed moonlight goo. A goo master's cultivation cannot always rely on luck. I will win you." Fang Zheng was cheering for himself in his heart. "You did well. Continue trying hard. Seize the feeling you had earlier." The academy elder patted the student's shoulder, smiling as he encouraged him. The young boy quickly showed excitement, and he nodded continuously. his eyes appearing with a different luster. The elder took the opportunity and announced, "Listen up, everyone, this will be your homework. Practice well after class. In 3 days I will check the results. Whoever performs the best will receive 10 pieces of primeval stones as the prize. Understand?" "Yes," the young students all shouted loudly. They could not help but be more excited when they heard about the primeval stone reward. However, only 3 minutes later, the moonblades that flew about in the air started to thin gradually. Damn, every single moonblade takes up 10% of primeval essence. The consumption of the moonblade is just too much. I am just a C-grade talent. My aperture can only hold 38% of green copper primeval essence. I can only throw out 3 moonblades. Those that stopped all sighed. The academy elder was calm as he witnessed everything, but his heart sighed. This is the benefit of those with high cultivating talent. To use the moonblade, it is simply just 3 words: practice makes perfect. Those with higher grade talent are able to hold more primeval essence in their apertures, and the rate of recovery is faster, so they have more chances to practice. Those with poorer talent can also use primeval stones to make up for it, strengthening the number of practices. But those with low-grade talent and have no primeval stones, though they have the mind to practice, they will still be powerless. The Goo Master's cultivation process is just so cruel. I had just better take care of those high-grade talent students. The sun had already set. The sunset glow was still burning in the sky. The mountains far away in the distance were covered in a thick layer of gray ash, gradually turning to black. In the academy, a day's class was over. The students walked out from the academy in groups of 2s and 3s. "I'm really happy today. I learnt quite a few things, especially how I got to learn how to use the moonlight goo. The way the moonblade flies in the air looks so cool. It's too bad that my talent isn't enough, so in the future I can only be a logistics goo master. I won't be able to go onto the battlefield." The young teenagers happily chatted away. A few of them called their friends over. "Let's go and eat. We can drink some rice wine while we're at it. What do you think?" "Sure, that's not a bad suggestion." "You guys go on first. I need to go to the store beside the academy's goo room and buy a grass puppet. It will be easy to practice at home with it." Fang Yuan went to the goo room alone. The academy's goo room kept quite a few rank 1 goo worms. There were many types and variations, and Fang Yuan's moonlight goo was taken freely from inside. Once in a while the students would have a free chance to pick a goo worm. If one wanted to get extra goo, they would need to pay up. In this short time, Fang Yuan had no wish to refine any other goo. He walked to the building beside the goo room. It was a small store. In the store there were 7 students, each of them negotiating over the counter with the store owner for buying grass puppets. "It's you, Junior." The rank 1 goo master responsible for the store was in his 20s. When he saw Fang Yuan, he automatically greeted him while bargaining with his customers. Fang Yuan was taken by surprise, finding out that this goo master was Jiangya. It was the young goo master that had taught the hunters a lesson in the inn. "Ah, it's you, senior." Fang Yuan nodded his head, his face expressionless. Jiangya took out a grass puppet from the counter behind him, passing it to the student who purchased it. At the same time, he threw Fang Yuan a friendly smile and asked, "Did Junior brother come here to buy a grass puppet as well? If you want me to leave one for you, you just need 3 pieces of primeval stones. These things sell like hotcakes. Right now there's only 7 left. If you wait any longer, there won't be any stock left." Jiangya's attitude towards mortals was arrogant, but towards people like Fang Yuan, he was very kind and sincere. Fang Yuan shook his head, laughing secretly as he thought, this Jiangya really did know how to do business. The grass puppets were made with the scarecrow goo. Even after including the primeval essence that was put in, the final cost should not be more than 1.5 primeval stones. "Senior, this isn't fair. It should be first come first serve, why leave any for him? Yeah, we all came early. If you want to do business, you should know the rules. 3 pieces will be 3 pieces. Here's the primeval stones. Give me a grass puppet. The youngsters in the store were all worried when they heard that the store only had 7 puppets left. They stopped trying to negotiate and took out their stones to buy it. Very quickly, 7 satisfied teenagers walked out. Does my junior want to buy a grass puppet? Jiangya laughed as he asked. It seems like they were sold out, but actually there's still the 8th puppet stowed away below the chest. If Junior doesn't buy it now, you will miss the opportunity. Fang Yuan had no interest towards the grass puppet. He shook his head and pulled out a piece of primeval stone, putting it on the counter. I want to buy 10 moon orchid petals. Jiangya was stunned. He looked Fang Yuan deep in the eye, taking away the primeval stone and pulling open the counter drawer. Then he took out a paper bag, saying, 10 pieces of moon orchid flower petals, not one less. Please make sure. Fang Yuan checked the goods on the spot and found no mistake with it. Finally, he left the small shop. Goo have to be fed. A goo master refines goo, uses goo, and at the same time needs to raise goo. Refining a goo is difficult. There is the risk of counterattack. Using a goo is not easy. One needs a lot of practice. The knowledge of raising a goo is even more extensive and profound, because there are all kinds of goo worms and their food are exceedingly strange. Some need to swallow soil, some need starlight, some require tears, and some feed on the clouds and air from the 9 skis. Just by taking Fang Yuan's current 3 goo for example, the moonlight goo requires moon orchid petals, 2 meals a day. In the morning and night 1 meal, every meal 2 pieces of flower petals. Meanwhile for the liquor worm, it needs to drink wine. A jar of green bamboo wine could support it for 4 days. As for the spring-autumn cicada, it is even more peculiar as it drinks straight from the river of time, maintaining its vitality. The river of time supports the flow of this world. It is not far away in the sky but very near at hand, flowing by every person's side. Every move made by every living creature requires the push of time. Time is like flowing water, hurriedly gliding forward. The river of time is invisible and colorless, while in reality all living creatures are actually surviving and living in the waters of the river of time. After buying the bag of moon orchid petals, Fang Yuan went to the inn to buy green bamboo wine. The liquor worm could also drink some turbid wine or rice wine to live. However, with this kind of second-rate wine, the amount it needed to drink would increase, and it would need many jars every day. After calculating, Fang Yuan decided it would be better to buy green bamboo wine straight away. Not only would it be more worth than buying second-grade wine, it would also not arouse suspicion. Young sir, you've come. The workers in the inn had already known Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan passed him 3 pieces of primeval stones directly, saying with a familiar ease, give me a jar of green bamboo wine and make me a few good dishes. You don't need to give me the change, just put it here first. At the end of the month, when it amounts up to 1 stone, you can subtract from my bill with it. Even though Fang Yuan no longer stayed at the inn right now, ever since he moved to the academy dormitories, he would always have a meal here when he bought wine. All right, young sir, please take a seat. The dishes will be sent over immediately. The worker echoed, leading Fang Yuan to his seat. He took the cloth on top of his shoulder and gently wiped the table before leaving. Indeed, as the worker said, the dishes were very quickly served. Fang Yuan ate and calculated at the same time in his mind. A piece of primeval stone can buy me 10 pieces of flower petals. The moonlight goo consumed 4 pieces every day. A jar of green bamboo wine costs 2 pieces of stones, and it can support the liquor worm for 4 days. In other words, just to raise and feed the 2 of these goo, I would need to spend nearly 1 stone every day. It does not seem like much, but in reality this was very costly. The monthly living expenses for a mortal family of 3 only used up 1 piece of primeval stone. From the starting of refining the goo until today, 16 days had already passed. Just to raise the goo alone, Fang Yuan had already spent 14.5 primeval stones. I have acquired the flower wine treasure, taken away Fang Zheng's bag of primeval stones, and also got the first place reward. My primeval stone assets once reached up to 44 pieces and a half. However, in the early days of refining the goo, I wasted 6 pieces and a half. Then I used 14 pieces and a half on feeding these goo. My living expenses cost half a piece, and today I am probably left with 20 pieces. Fang Yuan took out his money pouch. He opened it and looked inside. The bag contained pieces of primeval stones inside. Each of these stones were grayish-white in color, their shapes ellipsoid and the volumes equal, the size similar to a duck egg. After counting, he found that he really only had 20 pieces left. In other words, if this continued on then, Fang Yuan would only be able to go on for half a month with the remaining stones he had left. He was not like his peers. They had relatives and friends to help them out, especially with the case of students like Gu Yue Mo Bei and Gu Yue Kai Cheng, who were loaded with primeval stones. Fang Yuan could only think of a way himself. Uncle and aunt have already cut off my living expenses, but every weekend the clan academy would give out 3 pieces of primeval stones as subsidy to every student. Looks like I would need to show off in the Moonblade assessment in 3 days and take that 10 primeval stone prize. Fang Yuan chewed the food in his mouth while he pondered. His current age was just at the age where the body was growing. Without realizing it, all the rice and dishes had entered his stomach. Taking up the sealed green bamboo wine jar, Fang Yuan lifted his feet and started walking, leaving the inn. Young sir, young sir. The inn worker chased after him from behind and said, "Just to tell young sir something, but in less than a month the trading company will arrive to the village. By convention, they would always buy the green bamboo wine in our shop. Young sir loves our green bamboo wine and always buys a few jars every week, so the innkeeper ordered me to tell young sir about this matter. The green bamboo wine in our store has limited supply, so after we sell it to the trading company, I'm afraid we would be left with very little." "Is that the case?" When Fang Yuan heard the news, he frowned slightly. To know someone and tell apart the conversation, Fang Yuan had 500 years of experience. The shop worker and the young Gu master Jiangya spoke with similar meaning. However, Fang Yuan could naturally tell the difference with Jiangya's tricky words and the shop worker's truthful words. This matter was a little troublesome. Fang Yuan needed to feed the liquor worm, and he needed a huge amount of green bamboo wine in the long run. If this inn ran out of stock, then he would have to use huge amounts of second-rate wine to feed the liquor worm. It was not possible for him to drink several jars a day. After a while, people would be suspicious. After thinking about it, Fang Yuan took out 10 pieces of primeval stones and said, "Then I'll buy another 5 jars. I will need you to carry them for me and follow me to put them in the academy dormitory." "All right, young sir." The worker immediately accepted the primeval stones. The moon orchid flower petals could only last for 5 days without any special storage means, so Fang Yuan would only buy a bag every time. However, the green bamboo wine could be kept for a very long time, thus there was no problem with this. A few workers followed Fang Yuan into the academy dorms and placed the wine jars under his bed, and then they bid their leave. As he saw the money pouch that had suddenly flattened down in his hands, Fang Yuan heaved a sigh. Refining a goo is hard, but raising a goo is also not easy. This is also considering the fact that he had his 500 years of previous life experience, so he did not need to practice using his goo, meaning that the consumption rate of primeval essence would be lessened, and thus saving him a huge sum of expenses. For those at his age around him, they would need to practice using the moonlight goo and would need to waste primeval essence. To increase proficiency, one would need to practice many times. When too much primeval essence is consumed, Primeval stones would have to be used as a supplement since the recovery rate is too slow. To buy a grass puppet, it costs 3 primeval stones as well. All this is money. Fortunately, my spring-autumn cicada feeds on time and not anything else. Otherwise, I would have long gone bankrupt. I would never be able to support it. Fang Yuan suddenly felt very lucky. The more high-end the goo is, the greater the food consumption needed, or the more precious and rare the food required would be. Thus, the more difficult it would be to keep. A normal level rank 2 goo worm would cost up to around 1 to 2 pieces of primeval stones a day. It is good enough if the food is purchasable. There were some goo that required food that was relatively difficult to find. Some of it did not even circulate in the market. Just like the spring-autumn cicada's food being time itself, this was actually more precious. After all, there was a saying, an inch of gold cannot buy an inch of time. No matter how much money you have, can you buy time? You can't. In theory, a goo master can refine an unlimited amount of goo. As long as you can refine it, whether 10, 100, or 1,000 worms is possible, you can refine as many goo as you wish to. But in reality, a goo master normally only had 4 or 5 goo. Why? The biggest reason is because it is hard to afford. The higher the grade of the worm, the more expensive it would cost to feed and raise. It often gave a goo master too many difficulties to cope with, making them have unceasing headaches over it. Another reason was unable to use. To use the moonlight goo to throw out a single moonblade attack, one would need to use up 10% of primeval essence. A C-grade talent goo master could run out of primeval essence in their apertures after launching 3 to 4 attacks. To raise so many goo, wouldn't it be a waste if one couldn't use them anyway? Thus, in the goo master's cultivation, there was a saying going around, raising a goo is like raising a mistress. To keep a mistress, you would need to buy food, clothes, a house, etc. It is very expensive, and the more you have, the more costly it is. A normal man cannot afford it. Even if you keep so many, a man's energy is limited. He cannot use them all. Would you raise them just to look at them? When the rank of the goo master increases, so does the food standard of the goo worm. Thus, please refrain from seeing how a goo master has no limit to the number of refining goo. In general, a goo master only keeps around 4 or 5 goo of his level. If the number of goo was raised higher, the goo master would go bankrupt 3 days later. Lowering your body to dodge, that is the usual technique of restraining against a flying fist. When your enemy comes and attacks you, quickly squat down and at the same time do a counterattack, striking his crotch and abdomen. Do not be afraid of a swinging fist. Usually those who come up and start swinging their fists at the first moment are people who have no brains and are impulsive and rash. On the martial arts field, the Academy's martial arts instructor spoke while he performed actions to demonstrate. A wooden puppet's right first swept over, and the martial arts instructor quickly squatted down, dodging the incoming attack. Then he threw a punch at the puppet's abdomen, knocking it down with a few punches. The students were looking at the demonstration in a circle, but most of them were lacking in spirit, showing very little interest. The Academy taught a variety of courses, and this lesson was the one that taught foundation of martial arts. Using fists and legs to exert oneself was too inferior to the handsome and cool attack style of the Moonblade, making almost all the students absent-minded. The next class will be the Moonlight Goo's usage assessment. How have you been practicing so far lately? I'm still doing good. I can do 3 Moonblades, but only a few of them actually hit. Usually I get 2 blades on the grass puppet. That's the same like me. I specially bought a grass puppet just to practice for this in these few days. The young teens whispered to one another, their minds long gone from the lesson. They were all worried about the assessment in the next class. Just for this assessment, they had practiced hard for a long time after class, and now they were flexing their hands and feet, looking forward to the assessment. The sounds of the students' discussion had reached the instructor's ear, and the martial arts coach jerked his gaze back at them, shouting, "No talking allowed in class. All of you keep your mouths shut and watch closely." He was a rank 2 Gu master, his body rather muscular. His upper body was naked and robust, the bronzed skin littered with countless scars on it. With a loud shout, he showed a threatening manner, pressing down on all the students in the field. Silence fell in the martial arts field. The foundation of martial arts is the most important among important things. Especially in the early stages of a Gu master's cultivation, it is more important than anything else. All of you better focus your attention on me. After he finished scolding, the martial arts instructor called out another wooden puppet. This light yellow wooden puppet was 2 meters tall, its huge wooden feet making sharp sounds as it stepped on the bluestone floor tiles. The wooden puppet stretched open its arms and rushed clumsily towards the coach. The instructor dodged its attack, then fiercely hugged its waist and used his strength to push it forward down, causing the huge and tall wooden puppet to fall to the ground. Then the instructor rode on the puppet's waist and swung his fist quickly at the puppet's head. The wooden puppet resisted for a moment, then its head was smashed broken by the instructor's raining blows. It was paralyzed on the ground, lying motionless. The martial arts instructor stood up, his breathing calm and long as always. He explained to the students, "When facing a huge and tall enemy in close combat, do not be afraid. Ruining the opponent's center of gravity is a type of sensible tactic to pin down your enemy. Just like how I did it earlier, you must hug the opponent's waist, control his hips, and then push forward with your strength. After that, you take the opportunity and get on his body and fiercely punch at your enemy. Those with no defensive capabilities will instantly collapse." The students nodded repeatedly, but most of their eyes showed disapproval. The coach saw all of this and laughed bitterly in his heart. Every batch was like this. The attitudes of these youngsters were naturally easily attracted by gorgeous things. Without personal understanding and experience, it was hard for them to understand the importance of having a martial arts foundation. In truth, especially for a Gu master in his early stage, while the basic martial arts did not look promising, it was actually more important than the blade attack. Remember, in close combat, your sight must not always stare at the enemy's eye. It should focus on the enemy's shoulder. No matter punching or kicking, the enemy's shoulder will always move first. In close combat, your speed is very important. The speed I am talking about in this context is not the speed of your fists, but the speed of the movement of your legs. Distance is the best defense. Keep your legs elastic, then you will be able to easily burst out your strength. When striking with your fists, maintain a triangle support. Otherwise, you will lose your footing. The enemy has not fallen, yet instead you fell first. The instructor patiently explained while he demonstrated. These were all his valuable experiences that he got from sacrificing blood and tears, experience accumulated from long battles. Unfortunately, the students were unaware of this. They gradually started to whisper again, the focus of the discussion still on the next lesson's Moonblade assessment. This martial arts instructor is very pragmatic, but his teaching style is wrong. Fang Yuan watched quietly among the crowd, nodding and shaking his head at times. The instructor had no discipline in his teaching. He taught completely by interest, and just taught whatever he thought of. Therefore, the things he taught came out in a mess, and there was a lot of complicated info. In the beginning, many students listened seriously, but gradually they lost interest and diverted their attention to other aspects. Only Fang Yuan listened meticulously all the way. While others were learning, he was revising. His combat experience was richer than the instructor, but listening to others narrating was also a way of verification in cultivation. A Gu master's method of fighting is usually divided between melee and ranged. The Moonblade attack is a type of ranged attack, but when strictly speaking, It is considered medium range due to its effective distance only being 10 meters. When it came to close combat Gu masters, the martial arts instructor was the best example. Melee battle Gu masters would usually choose Gu that amplified their own body strengths and cultivate. These Gu would give them superhuman strength, agility, responsiveness, endurance, etc. Just like this martial arts instructor, his whole body was covered in bronze skin. This was of course not his own skin color, but it was a type of copper skin Gu's effect. The copper skin Gu would increase the Gu master's skin toughness and defense by a lot, letting the Gu master be able to endure more damage. A single moonblade would consume 10% of primeval essence. How many times can a Gu master throw a moonblade during battle? The number is few, especially for beginners who have difficulty forming effective blows. It can only be used as a type of trump card. The terrorizing factor is greater than its lethality. To a rank 1 Gu master, the truly useful skill would be martial arts kung fu. This is because the martial art offense is more durable and reliable. It's a pity that this fact is something that they will not understand unless they face it with their own experience. Fang Yuan lightly glanced around at his peers, a faint sneer somehow forming on his lips. The basic martial arts class was finally over. After a short rest, the students' eyes were filled with anticipation. The academy elder was late. He waved his big hand, pointing at the row of grass puppets in front of the bamboo wall. He went straight to the subject and said, "All right, today is the day to check the results. I want 5 people in a group coming up in proper sequence, using the moonblade to attack 3 times." Swoosh! The first group of students went up, and the moonblade danced in the air. After 3 rounds, only 9 moonblades hit on the grass puppets. The academy elder shook his head a little, feeling slightly displeased. This hit rate was too low, the key being that among these 5 only 2 managed to successfully throw out 2 moonblades. "You all better practice properly after this, especially you and you," the elder reprimanded in a short sentence. Then he waved his big hand and said, "Next group." The 2 that were reprimanded dropped their heads and left the field in dismay. One of them was a girl, her eyes a little red and her heart grieving. She was only a C-grade talent, yet she could not bear to use primeval stones to quickly recover her primeval essence. Thus, in these 3 days, she practiced very little, resulting in her unskilled throwing of the moonblade. A Gu master needed money to refine Gu, raise Gu. Even practicing to use Gu needed cash. But where was she able to get so much money? Even though her 2 parents were supporting her from behind, but every family had their own problems. To be short of funds was often the dilemma that a Gu master faced. "Anyway, I don't have the slightest chance of getting number 1. I might as well give up and save on primeval stones. That is better for me." As she thought of this, her heart became calm once more. There were actually quite a number of people who thought the same way as this young girl. Because of the lack of practice, many of the students performed poorly. The academy elder's brow deepened more and more. Fang Yuan watched, secretly shaking his head. These people are really pitiful and sad. Just for a small amount of primeval stones, they gave up their own chance to make progress. Primeval stones are meant to be used. If you want to become a miser and accumulate primeval stones, then what did you become a Gu master for? In other words, those who are short-sighted would often haggle over every penny and chase after less important things. As for those with lofty aspirations, they usually showed a tolerant and generous attitude and had the strength to give up and let go of things. It's finally my turn. At this moment, Gu Yue Mo Bei's horse face lit up in a confident smile all over, and he walked up to the field. His stature was stout and gave out a fierce and strong aura. After standing still, he raised his hand and threw 3 moonblades. All 3 of them hit. Among the blades, 2 of them hit on the puppet's chest, while the other blade hit the puppet's left arm, shaving away a few green grass. This result naturally caused the young teens to burst with admiration. Well done. The elder's brow slightly smoothed out. The next group came up, Gu Yue Kai Cheng standing among them. He had a small and short body, his face full of pockmarks, his expression bringing a slight nervousness. He sent out 3 moonblades continuously, and all 3 hit on the puppet's chest, cutting out 3 intertwined scars. The scars went from deep to shallow and restored back to its original appearance after a few breaths, due to the puppet's self-healing ability. However, this outcome was already tied to Gu Yue Mo Bei's result, and also received the elder's praise. Kai Cheng held his head high as he walked out of the field, looking at Mo Bei defiantly in the eye on the way. HMPH. Below the field, Gu Yue Mo Bei gave a cold snort, but he did not return Kai Cheng's glare. Instead, he continued looking at Gu Yue Fang Zheng, who had not gone up yet. His heart clearly knew that the real threats were only Gu Yue Kai Cheng and Gu Yue Fang Zheng. The previous was the same like him, a B-grade talent while also having the constant supply of primeval stones. The latter was an A-grade talent, while Fang Zheng did not have as many primeval stones as them, but just by relying on his own natural recovery speed thanks to his grade talent, he would also be able to practice a lot in a short amount of time. Right now Gu Yue Kai Cheng's results have appeared, showing a tie to Mo Bei, and only Gu Yue Fang Zheng was left. In the last few groups, Gu Yue Fang Zheng finally came up to the stage. Is he Fang Yuan or Fang Zheng? Some of the students were muttering. There were still people who could not differentiate between Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng, the 2 twin brothers. It's Fang Zheng. Fang Yuan is always wearing a cold expression. He would never appear tense, someone answered. Oh, then there will be a spectacle. Fang Zheng is the only A-grade talent from our village in 3 years, after all. The crowd casted their eyes over to the field. Fang Zheng could feel the pressure among the gazes shot at him, and this made him feel even more nervous. Standing on the stage, his fingers were trembling slightly. He threw out his first moonblade, originally intending to aim at the grass puppet's chest. But because he was tense, he missed. In the end, the moonblade imprinted onto the grass puppet's neck area. The young teens instantly let out a sound of slight surprise. They thought that Fang Zheng deliberately did it. Instead of aiming for the easiest spot, which was the chest of the puppet, he went for the neck instead. This was a showcase of huge self-confidence towards his own attacking skill. They could not help but look forward to Fang Zheng's next move. Gu Yue Mo Bei and Gu Yue Kai Cheng, however, had their complexions cast down. Only those among the field who could see Fang Zheng's error were the Academy Elder and Fang Yuan. How dangerous! Looking at the moonblade, Fang Zheng exclaimed in his heart while secretly feeling lucky. He took in a few deep breaths, trying his best to calm down. Then he threw out 2 blades. This time he did not make any mistakes, and the 2 blades hit accurately on the grass puppet's chest. This result made the Academy Elder nod his head, and Mo Bei and Kai Cheng calmed down as well. Fang Zheng's result was different from theirs, so it would all come down to how the Academy Elder decided to grade them. The other students let out sounds of sighing. Fang Zheng's later performance was not interesting, making them feel slightly disappointed. The next few groups were not interesting either. No one was able to perform better than Mo Bei, Kai Cheng, and Fang Zheng. The youngsters started to whisper around. At this rate, the top scorer in today's assessment should be among the 3 of them. All 3 of them managed to hit the grass puppet. I wonder who the Academy Elder will deem better. Hold on, it's the last group. Fang Yuan's going up. Oh, that C-grade talent, cold genius, heh heh. Right when it was the last group, Fang Yuan finally went up stage. It's that Fang Yuan. Gu Yue Mo Bei lifted his head and looked at Fang Yuan for a moment, then he lowered his eyes uncaringly. Last time you got really lucky, choosing a weak-willed Moonlight Gu by accident and getting number 1. Let's see how you perform this time. Gu Yue Kai Cheng hugged his arms, waiting to see Fang Yuan make a fool of himself. Big brother, this time will not be like the last. I have practiced so hard for so long, I can definitely surpass you. Among the crowd, Gu Yue Fang Zheng pursed his lips, subconsciously clenching his fists tightly. Previously in the assessment to refine the vital Gu, he as someone with an A-grade talent actually got second position. Naturally, he was not happy with this, especially after he understood that Fang Yuan was able to win and get number one because of sheer luck. This made him even more unsatisfied. To Gu Yue Fang Zheng, being victorious over his own older brother Fang Yuan had a special and great significance. Many gazes were gathered on Fang Yuan, and the academy elder's sight was fixed on him as well. Fang Yuan made no emotion. His expression was cold and detached. He stood still, primeval essence pouring into the moonlight Gu in the heart of his palm. With a cut in the air, he struck out the first moonblade. This moonblade flew very high. It not only went over the grass puppet's head, but flew over the bamboo wall as well. It went on for almost 15 meters before the light turned dim and vanished into thin air. PFFFFT, someone couldn't help but laugh out. This is way too outrageous, isn't it? Someone sneered. He's indeed a genius. No wonder he managed to get number one in refining the Gu. Another spoke sarcastically. In the earlier years when Fang Yuan created poetry and showed early wisdom, it had already caused discontented emotions among these people. Later on, when he relied on luck and got number one in refining his vital Gu, this made them feel a layer of jealousy among their dissatisfaction. Many of them were waiting to see a good show. They waited to see the genius, Fang Yuan, reveal an embarrassing action, and this moonblade of his did not let them down. Waves of laughter swept across the crowd. The academy elder shook his head slightly, secretly laughing at himself. Why did he have to be so concerned with Fang Yuan for no reason? He was just a C grade and merely a boy who got number one in refining Gu because of sheer luck. In his heart he had already made up his mind. Although Mo Bei, Kai Cheng and Fang Zheng's results were the same, he would still pick Fang Zheng as number one. The war between Gu Yue Mo Bei and Gu Yue Kai Cheng was the epitome of the political struggle between the two most powerful elders in the clan. The academy elder had always remained in the center and had no intention to enter the middle of the political vortex. The academy elder was more inclined towards the clan head Gu Yue Bo, and Fang Zheng was a set with the clan leader. Add in the fact that he had a grade talent. Choosing him as number one would mean showing biased care for him, and it was something the clan's upper authorities could accept. A warm spring breeze blew over, the smell of flowers drifting into the training grounds. The sunlight shone down on Fang Yuan's body, sending a lonely black shadow onto the ground. His expression was still cold as he quietly gazed at the grass puppet 10 meters away. The moonblade in his palm was giving out a faint blue light. Of course, he had deliberately thrown the first moonblade off course. Right now, he only had 2 chances left to act. Taking into account the academy elder's position, to acquire number one he would have to create an outcome that exceeded everyone's expectations in the next 2 attacks. With only 2 chances left to attack, it's impossible. Big brother, I have finally won over you. Gu Yue Fang Zheng's eyes did not flicker as he stared at Fang Yuan. From young till old, the life shadow that his older brother had brought onto him finally faded away slowly at this moment. Fang Zheng could feel victory so nearby. His 2 fists were subconsciously clenched tight, his entire body so full of excitement that he trembled slightly. Big brother, my victory this time is just a beginning. Next, I will keep on winning over you again and again until I banish away all the shadows in my heart. I will prove to the clan the excellence of an A-grade talent genius, Fang Zheng told himself in his heart. But just at this moment, Fang Yuan acted. His right palm was like a knife splitting the void. With a sharp tearing sound, the watery blue light shrouded in his palm was thrown out. It flew in the air, turning into a curved blue moonblade, shooting towards the grass puppet. In just the next second, Fang Yuan's right palm lit up again in a coat of blue light. He turned his palm and shot out the third moonblade. These two attacks connected smoothly like flowing water. It was a seamless combination. The two moonblades flew out in quick succession, the distance between the two blades less than half a meter apart in the air. Under the stunned gazes of the crowd, the two moonblades accurately hit onto the grass puppet's neck. This, Fang Zheng's pupils shrank, a bad feeling emerging from his heart. In the next moment, the students slowly opened their mouths wide as they wore astonished expressions. They saw that the grass puppet's head slowly tilted to one side, then it fell off the neck and dropped onto the ground. With a bounce, it rolled 2 to 3 meters away. Fang Yuan had beheaded the puppet. This outcome had gone beyond the expectations of everyone on field. Is this luck or skill? The academy elder frowned. This doubt hovered in the hearts of the rest of the students. For a time, the entire training ground lapsed into silence. How could this be? Fang Zheng murmured. He stared at Fang Yuan blankly, the surged emotions in his heart dropping instantly, falling deep into the lowest point. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes, acting as if he was oblivious to the gazes that fell onto him from the crowd. Clug clug. Under the blue skies and white clouds, a group of peacock parrots suddenly flapped their wings and flew in midair. They dragged their magnificent, long and slender peacock tails, clucking in the air as they flew about playfully. Fang Yuan stood in the center of the training field, looking up. Under the bright sunlight, the multicolored feathers of the birds dazzled even greater and gorgeous. His expression was indifferent, as if the person who just cut off the grass puppet's head was not him. Ah, the light of spring is really enchanting, he sighed in his heart. As it neared nightfall, the sun on the edge of the horizon looked like blood. The afterglow rays poured into the school where around 50 students sat upright. On the stage above, the academy elder was reading out names one by one, distributing allowance to them. This was the academy's weekly subsidy, where every 7 days' allowance would be distributed. One could say it was financial aid for these young teens. After all, with their capabilities, to feed and raise their own gu was a lot of financial pressure. Gu Yue Fang Yuan, the elder read aloud. Fang Yuan got up from the seat by the window at the last row. He walked up the stage, receiving 2 money bags. In one bag was 3 primeval stones, the clan's allowance. The other bag held the reward of 10 primeval stones. Work hard, the elder said. He gave Fang Yuan a deep look. Fang Yuan had continuously achieved number 1, and this had let those elders who were originally disappointed in him start paying slight attention. Fang Yuan nodded his head and took the purse into his arms, returning to his seat. Damn it, he actually got number 1 again. Gu Yue Mobei fixed his gaze onto Fang Yuan firmly, his heart rather furious. Those 2 moonblades consecutively hit the neck of the puppet. Is this because of sheer luck or real skill? Gu Yue Kai Cheng narrowed his eyes. Since the end of the assessment until now, this question had been hovering in his mind. It was not just him. Many students unconsciously drifted their sights towards Fang Yuan. This question haunted them. Although they had lost, their hearts were unsatisfied and they wanted to question what actually had happened. When the day was about to end, the academy elder announced a matter. You all have been in the academy for an amount of time now, and you are familiar with how to use your vital gu as well. In the next few days, I will teach you all how to warm and nourish your aperture, advancing a gu master's cultivation realm. The higher the realm of a gu master, the more concise your primeval essence becomes. A rank 1 gu master has green copper primeval essence. A rank 2 gu master has red iron primeval essence, and a rank 3 gu master possesses white silver primeval essence. A portion of red iron primeval essence is comparable to 10 portions of green copper primeval essence. Similarly, a portion of white-silver primeval essence equals 10 portions of red iron primeval essence. You must all remember, the Gu are just tools that we use. Cultivation is the foundation of us Gu masters. The higher your rank, the stronger the Gu you are able to use. In the next 3 months, whoever can take the lead and promote to rank 1 middle stage will receive a reward of 30 primeval stones. At the same time, he will be able to choose the second Gu first. After 3 months, we will elect a class monitor and 2 vice class monitors based on the results. The class monitor will enjoy a subsidy of 10 primeval stones, while the vice class monitor will have an allowance of 5 pieces. All right, that's all for today. You can all leave. The elder's words made the academy burst with noise. Time to elect the class monitor and vice class monitor. Someone clenched his fist in excitement. The class monitor receives 10 primeval stones every 7 days, and the vice class monitor gets 5 pieces. If I am able to be the first to reach rank 1 middle stage, I will definitely be able to become the class monitor. Another had lights in his eyes. The primeval stones are not the important focus. What matters here is the position of class monitor and vice class monitor. It represents glory and places one's identity over others. When normal students seize the class monitor, they must all bow and greet him. Gu Yue Mo Bei and Kai Cheng did not lack primeval stones, but they deemed the glory of the position very important. To become the class monitor, without mistake, it is the first person who promotes to rank 1 middle stage first. That means when Big Brother see me in future, he would have to bow and automatically greet me. Hold up, where is Big Brother? Gu Yue Fang Zheng subconsciously looked back, but Fang Yuan's seat was empty. The students walked out of the academy. Where? Gu Yue Fang Yuan. Gu Yue Mo Bei wanted to look for Fang Yuan and ask him face to face. However, Fang Yuan was 1 step ahead and had long left. HMPH, he sure ran away fast. Is he afraid? Looks like he got lucky again in today's test. Gu Yue Kai Cheng sneered. Whatever, it's just 10 primeval stones. I don't need to care about this small matter. Right now what's important is to advance to middle stage and get that class monitor position. Gu Yue Mo Bei narrowed his eyes, looking at his side where Gu Yue Kai Cheng and Gu Yue Fang Zheng were. These 2 figures were his real enemy, while Fang Yuan was just a small C-grade talent. He was not on par. In the first 2 times, Fang Yuan got lucky and got number 1. However, this time it is a cultivation test, and the focus is on the talent of cultivation. When the talent is higher by a grade, the advantage becomes much greater, Gu Yue Kai Cheng thought, depressed in his heart. His real grade talent was only a C grade. It was only because of cheating that let him gain the illusion of having B grade. Just a mere class monitor and 2 vice class monitor positions got them itching their fists. How hot-blooded and naive they are at this age. Fang Yuan sneered as he leaned against the gateway of the academy. The so-called glory was just a valuable tool the upper levels used to motivate those below them. In the end, it was just a layer of illusionary glory. It was useless. His 500 years of experience had long allowed Fang Yuan to understand some of the secrets of life. Whether it comes to a clan, sect, or demonic group, whether it is this world or earth, all organizations are like this. The high and low positions are established, making the law of promotion clear, letting those in the organization climb up non-stop from the bottom. Because chasing after profit is the nature of humans, and positions of authority often make people have superiority, creating the illusion that oneself is living a more valuable life than others. Power is like the carrot dangling in front of a donkey. The desires of humans are stimulated by it, and each of them secure their personal gains with someone with authority for it. After climbing up 1 level, there will be a higher level. While they are busy currying favor for personal gain, their hard work is squeezed out from them, and their value is exploited by the upper position. In every organization, as long as there is a chain of command, it is to give serve to those at the upper ranks. The so-called class monitor and vice-class monitor position is like the smallest carrot, luring everyone else into the structure of the clan. And to stop those below from realizing the truth, those at the higher positions integrate shared values, clear-cutting the idea of glory, meritorious deeds, etc. The establishment of high and low positions are made along with unequal benefits. Sometimes the use of religion is done to dominate people's hearts. This is the real truth, yet it is a pity that too many people in the world do not understand. They foolishly work hard for others. And for every organization in the world, the most fundamental of its essence is just one thing, and that is the redistribution of resources, where the higher the position, the more resources they can enjoy. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had founded the Bloodwing Demon sect in the Middle Kingdom, where he taught up to tens of thousands of people. He erected the positions of demon soldiers, demon generals, demon sages, etc. Each position gave their corresponding benefits, letting countless people flock over like ducks, letting Fang Yuan order them around. This kind of experience allowed Fang Yuan to understand clearly the way of thinking in this principle. Thus, any organization is just a representation, while the real basis is just one word: resources. Without food resources, one will die of starvation. Without water resources, one will die of thirst. Without cultivation resources, one will become weak and sooner or later be bullied to death. And for a Gu master, primeval stones are the most important resource. Fang Yuan's two orbs were deep like an ancient pond, and as his mind reached this point, the corners of his lips curled up slightly, creating the outline of a sneer. He had long left the academy, and right now he stood at the gate entrance of the school. He saw the first batch of students coming out, gradually walking closer towards him. It's Fang Yuan. What's he doing at the middle of the gate entrance? HMPH. Every time I see his dead, dysfunctional state, I feel so pissed off. Don't worry about him. He's probably waiting for someone. The young teens paid no attention to him. Just as they were about to walk over, Fang Yuan strode across and blocked them. I'm plundering. Everyone must surrender a piece of primeval stone before they can leave. The young teens were instantly shocked and angry. What, I didn't hear wrongly, did I? Fang Yuan, your head must have overheated and gone confused. You would actually stand at the gates of the academy and blackmail us. Have you gone mad? Who gave you the guts to put your ideas on us? Scram, you're just a petty C grade. How dare you block my way? If you don't scram, I will send you flying with my erg. Fang Yuan suddenly lashed out. His right palm furiously cut forward. His movement was quick and precise, his slice of his palm hitting the left side of someone's neck. This unlucky teenager was totally not expecting Fang Yuan to suddenly attack him. While he was still cursing at Fang Yuan, he suddenly suffered a heavy blow. His two eyes instantly rolled up and he fainted on the spot. Fuck, you actually dared to strike. The crowd jumped, and the young teens subconsciously retreated backwards. Gu Yue Beiju fainted. What do we do? Some of them were terrified and scared, shouting around in horror. What else can be done? There's so many of us and Fang Yuan is alone. We should all rush at him together and beat him up. Some people were shouting, their rage erupting. That's right, he sure doesn't know his place. How he dares to provoke us by himself. He's definitely digging his own grave with his overambitiousness. Everyone get on him together. Yet before they could do anything, Fang Yuan had already struck. He strode a few steps forward, rushing into the group of teenagers. He slashed his palm, and the edge of his hand cut onto a youth's neck. The young man rolled his eyes upward and fell. Ah, another teen yelled loudly, swinging his fist at Fang Yuan, sweeping through the air. Fang Yuan lowered his body and dodged, then he lifted his leg and kicked the boy's crotch area. AHHOWWWWWW. The youngster's loud roar was originally sonorous and indignant, But after he took the blow, his voice instantly rose higher and became sharp and shrill, filled with a kind of misery and pain. Thump! He covered his crotch with his two hands, his knees giving way as he dropped to the ground. He rolled around on the floor screaming loudly, the pain so great his entire body was covered in cold sweat. Fang Yuan swung his two fists around like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. He had 500 years of battle experience, and these youngsters were just a bunch of soft green kids. They had only just started cultivating not long ago. How could they possibly be his opponents? In the blink of an eye, Fang Yuan put down the entire group of young students. If they had not fainted, then they would be lying on the ground, the pain making them drained and their bodies hurting all over. What's going on here? Gu Yue Mobei arrived and exclaimed. He saw that Fang Yuan stood at the entrance of the academy gates, and there were 5 to 6 students on the floor around him. This Fang Yuan, he wants to extort our primeval stones. One of them lying on the floor shouted angrily while clutching his belly. Wow, still full of energy, huh? Fang Yuan's expression was flat as he kicked fiercely at the abdomen of the boy who just yelled. Oh, weh! The youngster immediately cried out in pain, his body curling up like a shrimp. Fear emerged from his face, his tears streaming down as he dared not to speak again. As they saw this scene, the students that came over all felt Fang Yuan's fierce savageness and cruelty, their hearts throbbing. All right, all of you be good and hand out a piece of primeval stone. Then I'll let you go, or else these people on the ground here will be your fate. Fang Yuan made a big step forward, his tone callous. In your mother's face, you petty little C grade would even dare to win me a B grade. Gu Yue Mobei flew into a rage, swinging his fists as he rushed toward Fang Yuan before they knew it. With a slight turn of his ankle, Fang Yuan swerved gently sideways and let Mo Bei's fist fly past. Then he stretched out his left hand, lifting the index and middle finger toward the center of Mo Bei's clavicle, accurately jabbing at the area below the throat. Mo Bei immediately blacked out, falling onto the ground with a thump, fainting on the spot. Hiss! As they saw what just happened, the young students that planned to rush forward quickly stopped, each of them releasing a mouthful of cold air. In the eyes of these youngsters, Fang Yuan's attacks were suddenly too profound to be understood. They did not pay attention to basic martial arts, but in reality it was vaguely mentioned during class. The human body had many vulnerable parts, and several parts that Fang Yuan had struck were one of those vulnerable places. When these parts were struck, it would easily make a person faint on the spot, and a heavy blow would induce a life-threatening crisis. However, Fang Yuan had proper restraint when he attacked. Those that he had tackled down were either knocked out or suffering in immense pain, losing the ability for combat in a short amount of time. There was no one who was really seriously injured. This was the terror of 500 years, worth of combat experience. Are you going to give me your stones or not? Fang Yuan did a step forward, forcing the other youths. They looked at each other for a moment, then half of them gritted their teeth while the other half roared angrily, all of them swarming towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan dodged about while striking at the same time. His cultivation base was lowly, but his realm was still there. His heart was cool as ice, his movements quick and precise. Thump thump. After a few breaths, bodies fell down onto the ground again. It's too vicious, too terrible. They're not going to die, are they? There were still a few young girls left behind. They did not rush forward. Their eyes were open wide, and after seeing what had happened so far, their bodies trembled more and more. Fang Yuan swept his gaze to them, and their faces turned pale as they quickly waved their hands and retreated. No, don't come over. We'll surrender the stones. After Fang Yuan received a few pieces of primeval stones, he let them go. They stumbled out of the academy gateway, while in succession several students came over. To leave the academy, this gateway was the only route. With Fang Yuan blocking this path, he would be able to block out all the students. Damn, what's going on? The new wave of students stared in amazement. Isn't that Gu Yue Mo Bei? Gu Yue Kai-cheng stared at the unconscious Mo Bei on the floor, his eyes wide and his mouth agape. When Fang Yuan opened his mouth and spoke, the youngsters were instantly angered and they attacked him. Then they fell. Sir Elder, we're just going to keep watching all of this and not stop them. What if someone loses their life? How are we going to salvage the matter? The guards were worried. Some of the guards were indignant, saying, "This Fang Yuan has too much guts. He would actually dare to extort his classmates at the academy school gates under our eyelids. This is acting with utter disregard of the law and discipline. As long as Sir gives the command, we subordinates will take away this kid." The violent matter of Fang Yuan blocking the gateway and openly extorting his classmates had long attracted attention since the beginning. But mortal guards had no right to punish the students, so they could only go first to the academy elder and report. When the academy elder heard the news, he did not immediately command for them to stop it. Instead, he went up the pavilion and observed from afar. Looks like this child has fighting talent. The longer the academy elder watched, the more interested he felt. Fang Yuan's use of the moonblade today had already caused some uncertainty in the elder. Right now, he watched as Fang Yuan, with his strength alone, making an enemy out of the entire batch of students, bearing a sort of unstoppable fighting style of graceful demeanor. With this, the doubts in his heart were cleared. In this world, there were those who were particularly keen and sharp towards battles. These were hidden gifts. They were good at fighting, and they loved battles. In the battles, they were often inspired and always created surprising and even unbelievable accomplishments. Ah, he's a natural battle Gu master. Pity, his talent is only C grade. In the end, he just lacks one step of a grade. The academy elder heaved a sigh. Sir, are you not going to stop this farce? Letting him go on with this nonsense, I'm afraid the consequences wouldn't be too good. The guards beside him had worried expressions on their faces. Why stop it? The academy elder lifted his eyebrows and laughed. He lifted a finger and pointed it at Fang Yuan, who was far away, and said, "This young man has taken control of the entire situation, and his attacks are fully restrained. Look at the way he cuts at the neck. He only acts on the left or right side, but never cutting at the nape. This is because he knows that striking the neck sides can make a person faint on the spot. Meanwhile, attacking the area at the back of the head and neck could cause death, so he automatically abandoned that way of attacking. Look at all those youths on the ground, which one of them is actually heavily injured? None. Even if they were badly hurt, so what? Are you saying that our academy's treatment Gu masters won't be able to cure this sort of traumatic wound? But Sir Elder, that child is just too arrogant. He blocked the entrance. This is obviously not acknowledging our existence as guards. Being ignored isn't the main problem, though. The important matter is how the clan will think of our academy. To actually allow a small petty C-grade student make a fuss in the academy and not stop it. If word goes out, we're afraid this might affect your reputation, Sir Elder. The guard squinted as he said this. HMPH, in reality, is that because you all were disregarded by the boy, so your own dignity feels challenged. The academy elder was not too happy. He sneered and shot a gaze as sharp as a sword edge at the guards. They all lowered their heads, all of them disagreeing. What's wrong with fighting? As long as lives are not lost, it will stir up the competitive side of the students and temper their will to fight. To stop this kind of fight is to stifle the students' fighting passion. Was there no fighting in the past batches? Every batch had their own battles, and it happened very often. The only difference was that it usually happened in the latter half of the year when the students had already mastered some means of fighting. With strength they itched to fight, and at the same time it is an aggressive age. Why didn't you stop those people back then? The academy elder questioned in a cold voice. Maybe it was because the fights in the previous years were all single battles. There were rarely huge-scale fighting like this one. But this Fang Yuan is really good at creating a disturbance. The chief of the guards replied. No, no, no. The academy elder shook his head. That was because you all did not dare to stop it. Because after half a year, a Gu master will have the ability to fight beyond a mortal's strength, and with your petty mortal bodies, how are you supposed to stop it? Right now you all want to stop Fang Yuan. Perhaps it is because he just started cultivating, so he doesn't have enough power. It's also because you feel that he ignored your existence and offended your dignity. But you must all remember, these students all bear the surname of Gu Yue. They are my Gu Yue clan's clan members, your masters. Even if they are still of young age, no matter how weak, they are still your masters. The elder's tone had turned sharply. Your surnames are not Gu Yue, what is your worth? Because of your loyalty, you were all given the position of guards, rewarding you with some sweet benefits. But in reality, you are still slaves. Just slaves. A slave dare give preposterous opinions of their masters, caring about the matters of their masters. The elder's face was dark like water. This was not your subordinate's idea, not my meaning. I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. The guards were ashen-faced as they kneeled down to the ground, spouting nonstop. The academy elder gave a cold snort and pointed at the chief guard who had just called Fang Yuan a person good at creating disturbances. You gave an outrageous comment on your master. You are relieved of your position. After a while, the elder said to the others, after half a month, there will be a re-examination to determine the new chief. The other guards immediately had eyes that shone, their hearts pumping with enthusiasm. The position of chief of the guard. Every month I'll be able to receive half a primeval stone more. To be able to become the chief is to become a man above men. Aside from the masters, I dare to see who else would show displeasure at me. If I became the chief, how cool that would be. All right, what are you all pestling here for? Get downstairs and wait for the battle to end, then sweep the field, the elder roared. Yes, yes, yes. Your subordinate takes his leave. The guards left in reverence and awe as they went down. One of the guards on the stairs lost his footing and fell down. Immediately, there was a series of sounds implicating a chain of people falling and knocking down. However, under the academy elder's power and influence, the guards reddened their faces and endured in suffering, not letting out a single noise. HMPH. Those minions are just like dogs. Every once in a while they get this itch to misbehave. You'd have to smack them so that they know fear and respect. Then just throw some small victories and bones to them, letting them fight amongst themselves like dogs, letting them compete amongst themselves to serve my clan with their life. To hold a stick in one hand and a carrot in another, this is the unique way of the upper echelons. As the academy elder heard the quiet movements below, he sneered in his heart and turned his head, looking through the window and at the school gates. A fresh group of 10 or so students were on the ground at the entrance. Fang Yuan stood proudly, and there were 3 young girls back to back, huddling at a side opposite him. You better not come over. If you come over, we'll shoot you with the moonblade. In their hands were a layer of blue radiance. It seemed like they were compelled to the point they would actually mobilize their primeval essence and use the moonlight goo. Fang Yuan's body was still that of a normal 15-year-old boy, and if they attacked him with the moonblade it would not do him any good. Yet he was not afraid, instead he sneered at them and walked step by step towards the girls. You girls have pretty big guts, huh? Have you forgotten the rules of the school? Inside the academy, fighting using goo is forbidden, or else the penalty will be expulsion. If you girls want to be expelled, then just do it. The young girls hesitated. Indeed, there is such a rule. The blue light in their hands faded away. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed as he caught this opening and dashed forward, his palms waving in the air, cutting down 2 of them without a shadow of doubt. Being the last one, her morale dropped and her knees turned weak. She collapsed to the ground, crying heavily, begging Fang Yuan, "Don't you come over, Fang Yuan. Please let me go." Fang Yuan stared down at the young girl with a condescending look, his cold voice sounding in her ears. "A piece of primeval stone." The girl's body fluttered and she quickly opened her money pouch, realization taking hold of her. She took out 3 to 4 pieces of primeval stones and held them in her palm, stretching out her hand to Fang Yuan. "Don't hit me. I'll give them all to you. I'll give all my stones to you." Fang Yuan was expressionless as he slowly reached out with his right hand. He lifted his forefinger and thumb, gently pinching at a piece of primeval stone from the girl's hand. The young maiden could not stop trembling. Fang Yuan's hand had a youth's pale and slender form, but in her eyes his hand was horrifying, like a ferocious claw of terror. "I've said it earlier, I will only take 1 piece of primeval stone." Fang Yuan paused for a moment, then he said plainly, "You may leave." The girl stared at Fang Yuan for a good while, then she finally got up. But her limbs were still weak and she could not properly stand. Her heart was already full of fear towards Fang Yuan, and she was afraid to the point that she could not muster a single breath of energy. When the academy elder saw this, he could not help but shake his head. One of his reasons to remain an observer was to borrow the chance to see each of the students' respective fighting talents. This girl who collapsed on the ground was only a C-grade talent, but with this kind of mentality she could only become a logistics goo master. She would be able to be productive in the clan, but there was no expectation for her to be on the battlefield. As for this Fang Yuan, the academy elder rubbed his chin, his eyes squinting with a flash of light. He felt that Fang Yuan was very interesting. Not only did Fang Yuan possess fighting talent, he even had a sense of propriety. To just extort for a piece of primeval stone was not beyond the bounds in the elder's heart. But if Fang Yuan wanted to blackmail for 2 pieces, that would be too much and he would need to intervene. The academy's allowance was originally 3 pieces. To have a piece taken away would still be considered harmless. But if he extorted away 2 stones, then what is the point of giving out subsidy? He might as well just give everything to Fang Yuan. Very quickly the last group of students arrived. There were only 5 people, and among them was Fang Yuan's twin younger brother. "Big brother, how could you be like this? You are too bold to actually beat up your classmates at the gates and take away their primeval stones." Gu Yue Fang Zheng was wide-eyed as he looked at the scene. He could not believe what he was seeing before him. "I advise you to quickly go to the academy elder and take the initiative to admit your mistake, or else with you making such a huge matter, it's not a joke, you might actually get expelled." Fang Yuan laughed and said, "You're right." Fang Zheng heaved a relieved sigh. Seeing that his older brother hadn't gone insane and could still be persuaded, that was good. But very quickly he heard Fang Yuan say again, "Every one of you, a piece of primeval stone." "What?" Fang Zheng opened his mouth wide with surprise. "Even I need to pay up?" "My dearest little brother, of course you can choose not to." Fang Yuan's tone was very gentle. "But you will end up just like them," he said and pointed at those fallen on the ground. Some of them had fainted and some of them were moaning in pain. Even his own younger brother isn't spared. "This Fang Yuan is crazy, he's too vicious. We cannot defeat him. A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. We better hand it over and overcome the trouble." "That's right, we'll just pass up the primeval stone first. It's just 1 piece anyway. When we go back and report to the teachers, he'll be getting it." With the lesson drawn from their classmates' mistakes, the remaining youngsters obediently accepted Fang Yuan's blackmail with gazes of defiance. "Hold up!" Just as they were about to leave, Fang Yuan shouted at them to halt. "Fang Yuan, are you actually going to go back on your word?" The youth started to become nervous. Fang Yuan faced the teenagers on the ground, gently sighing. "Do you guys really think that I would squat down and search through their bodies one by one? The youth stared blankly, then they were hit by realization one by one. Each of them turned red in the face and stood at the spot hesitatingly. Fang Yuan stared at them, narrowing his eyes. There was a flash of cold light in his gaze. Immediately the 5 youngsters felt their heart beating fast, their scalps going numb at the same time. "All right, Fang Yuan, we understand your meaning. We'll just help you this once." Under Fang Yuan's despotic aura, they could only lower their heads and search through each of the young teens' money pouches on the ground, taking out a piece of primeval stone from each bag. Then they brought it together and passed it to Fang Yuan. The entire class had a total of 57 people. By extorting a piece of primeval stone from every single one of them, Fang Yuan held 56 pieces. He originally had 20 pieces, but he spent 10 to buy a few jars of green bamboo wine. Adding the number of primeval stones from his own allowance and reward, the total number of primeval stones he had in his possession amounted up to 79 pieces. This sort of capital-free business that consists of extortion and plundering is really the most profitable business. Fang Yuan pocketed his money pouch that had suddenly expanded greatly into his bosom and strutted away, leaving behind a floor full of teenagers, lying like corpses on the ground. And a few teenagers, Fang Zheng among them, blankly stared after Fang Yuan's gradually disappearing shadow. "Get out there fast. All of you faster, arrange the little masters properly. The treatment goo master, where is he? Ask him to come over fast." The guards were yelling as they all rushed forward, falling over each other in their eagerness to present themselves. They willingly gave their all for the small position of being the chief guard. "Put all the wine jars under the bed." Fang Yuan pointed and directed 4 workers from the inn. In each man's hands were jars of green bamboo wine. Right after Fang Yuan successfully extorted his peers, he went to the inn and bought 20 jars in one go. Each jar cost 2 pieces of primeval stones, and Fang Yuan pumped in 40 primeval stones for the sake of the liquor worm. The money pouch that had bulged out not long ago deflated by half in an instant, leaving 39 pieces of primeval stones behind. However, it was worth the money. These wine would be able to support the liquor worm for a long time. "All right," the workers immediately replied. They would not dare to show any hint of disrespect to a goo master. Add on to the fact that Fang Yuan had bought so much wine, he could be said as the inn's big customer. With just a casual word before the innkeeper, the workers were able to easily put down their current activities and workload. After the inn servants left, Fang Yuan closed the dormitory door and sat cross-legged on his bed. It was already night time. The stars and moon in the sky were bright, and the night breeze flowed with a hint of scented fragrance. There was no light in the room. Fang Yuan calmed his state of mind, letting his focus slip into the primeval sea. The waves of the primeval sea rose and fell, the seawater giving out green copper-colored light. Every drop of seawater was the green copper primeval essence that a rank 1 goo master specially had. The primeval sea took up 44% of the entire aperture. This was Fang Yuan's sea-grade talent's limitation. The 4 walls of the aperture were a thin layer of white light, supporting and encasing the aperture. In the sky above the primeval sea, there was nothing. The spring-autumn cicada had already hidden itself away under Fang Yuan's command, restoring itself under a deep sleep. Floating on the primeval sea was a cute and chubby white liquor worm. It frisked about with its heart's content on the seawater, sometimes diving into the sea, other times shaking its head and tail, splashing and splattering water droplets around. Fang Yuan sent a thought through his mind, and the liquor worm immediately responded. It stopped playing and curled up into the shape of a rice dumpling, leisurely floating into the air. It rose up to the middle of the aperture and out of the green copper sea. "Go!" Fang Yuan mobilized 1/10 of his primeval essence, transforming it into a narrow flow, thrusting it all into the liquor worm. The liquor worm had already been refined by him, so this time it did not resist. It took in the entire jet of primeval essence and absorbed everything into its body. Immediately the sea surface dropped by a small cut. The curled-up liquor worm turned the primeval essence into a driving force and began to radiate out white light. Inside the soft light, an enshrouding mist of wine fumes were gradually produced, finally converging into a pale white wine mist. The wine mist was marvelous. It did not drift apart, instead enveloping around the liquor worm. Rise! Fang Yuan gave a thought, transferring another 10% of his primeval essence. The green copper seawater dived into the wine mist. As the wine mist melted into the seawater, it gradually lessened, and eventually there was no trace of it left. As for that 10% of green copper primeval essence, it also lost its general volume and was left with 5%. However, this 5% of primeval essence was even more condensed than before. The original primeval essence was a jade green, giving out a copper luster. Right now, although this new primeval essence had the same copper luster, the green was a darker shade. It was pale green. Pale green-colored primeval essence was the primeval essence that only a rank 1 middle stage goo master would have. The liquor worm's use was to condense the primeval essence and increase it by a small realm rank. A goo master had 9 great realms from the bottom rank 1, rank 2, all the way to rank 9. Every great realm was split into 4 smaller realms, which were initial stage, middle stage, upper stage, and peak stage. Fang Yuan was only a rank 1 initial stage goo master right now, but with the liquor worm's help, he had 5% of a rank 1 middle stage goo master's primeval essence. If I want to condense out 5% of middle stage primeval essence, I would need to use 20% of initial stage primeval essence. I want to convert all the 44% of my primeval C into middle stage primeval essence, so I'd need to use around 180% of initial stage primeval essence. To reach this target as soon as possible, I'd need to borrow the help of primeval stones. As he thought of this, Fang Yuan opened his eyes and took out a complete primeval stone the size of a duck egg from his bag. The primeval stone was a sort of ellipsoidal-shaped, translucent gray stone. As the natural essence inside it is consumed, its size would continue shrinking. His right hand slowly closed, the primeval stone tightly clenched in his palm. He absorbed the natural primeval essence inside the stone, continuously replenishing his own aperture. The level of the sea surface that had fallen in his aperture slowly began to rise. The primeval stone was meant to be used. Fang Yuan was not stingy by one bit, and he would not save it up. I do not have someone to back me up, and I do not have support from friends and family, thus I can only rely on extortion and plundering. Today was just the first time, but after this, every 7 days when the academy gives out the school allowance, I will continue blocking the academy gates. How could robbing and blackmailing once satisfy Fang Yuan's appetite? In a goo master's cultivation, the primeval stone was the most scarce thing. As for the consequences of his plundering actions, Fang Yuan was not the least worried. This world was not the same as Earth. On Earth, schools would always prohibit fights to mainly stabilize harmony. But in this world, fighting was the main theme. No matter a goo master or common mortal, they would fight for survival. Sometimes it would be a fight with a scary wild beast. Sometimes it would be a battle against the raging weather, and other times it could be a fight against other goo masters over resources. As a result, moderate fighting was instead encouraged and advocated by people. From young to old, from simple brawls to battles determining life and death, this was the portrayal of most of the human lives here. This surface of this world was boundless. Just the southern border alone that Fang Yuan stayed in now, it was bigger than 7 to 8 times the entire surface of Earth itself. The living environment here was hostile and cruel, So humans would often construct mountain villages in the form of clans, holding up together. Every now and then there would be waves of beasts, or perhaps extremely bad weather assaulting a village. The Gu Master would become the core force of a village's protection, and every year the situation of attrition would become more serious. Surviving requires men with strong fighting will. A clan needs battle Gu Masters. There is never too much. Moreover, Fang Yuan's attacks were within the proper limit. He never attacked the lower jaw, as this would easily cause the skull to fracture and cause the loss of a human life. He also never struck the back of the head. When fighting, he did not use his fists or elbow, or even jabbing with his fingers, but he used his palm. The number of kicks he used could also be numbered. The students that fell were not heavily injured. At most, they were lightly wounded. Fang Yuan was not bloodthirsty. He just treated killing as a type of means. Every time he acted, he would have a clear goal. Whatever the type of method, whichever would let him reach his goal the fastest, he would use it. In other words, he was unscrupulous in doing things. The clouds floated over, covering the moonlight. A shadow enveloped over the Gu Yue village. The watchman banged on his clappers, prompting people to know that it was already deep in the night. Be careful of fires. Be on guard of beast assaults, as well as the possibility of foreign Gu masters sneaking into the village. There were still a lot of lights in the village. In the Kai family branch home, Gu Yue Kai Lion stayed in his study, the lights radiantly bright. This high-authority old man spoke with a gentle tone, expressing sympathy as he asked his own grandson Gu Yue Kai Cheng, "I heard you were beaten up by that Fang Yuan today." Gu Yue Kai Cheng had a black right eye and he angrily said, "Yes, Grandpa. That Fang Yuan was just a petty C grade, yet he dared to act so arrogant. He blocked us all at the entrance, not caring about the friendly sentiments of his classmates, and he robbed us of our primeval stones. What's more, the academy just opened one eye and closed one eye over the incident. It was only when Fang Yuan strode away that the guards hurried over. Grandpa, this time you have to help me expel this angry resentment of mine." Instead, Gu Yue Kai Lion shook his head. "This is between you and your juniors. You were blackmailed to lose a piece of primeval stone, and you did not suffer heavy injuries. Grandpa cannot act without any justifiable excuse. Even if you were heavily wounded, I will not stand up for you. Do you understand why?" Gu Yue Kai Cheng was stunned. He struggled to think, and after a long while he hesitatingly said, "Grandpa, I think I understand your meaning. You are hoping that I will rely on my own strength to find my way right. You only understood one aspect." Gu Yue Kai Lion nodded his head and added, "You must remember, you are not just an individual representative, but you are the image on behalf of our Kai family branch. For many years we have confronted the Mo family branch, and your every move will represent the hope of the future of the Kai family branch. Grandpa may help you in the shadows, but you must stand up and erect a self-reliant and strong image. Otherwise, the elders who are supporting our family will not see the hope for our future, and they will abandon the Kai family." As he said this, Gu Yue Kai Lion heaved a sigh. "This is also why Grandpa helped you to cheat and let you impersonate a B-grade talent. Our Kai family needs a strong successor to hold on to those who are supporting us." Gu Yue Kai Cheng was then enlightened. "Grandpa, I understand now." Gu Yue Kai Lion shook his head. "Just understanding won't do any good. You must work hard. Fang Yuan is just small trouble. Next up, you must study hard and train diligently on your basic martial arts and get your dignity back. At the same time, do not forget to work hard on cultivating, promoting to middle stage as soon as possible. The best you can do is to win the position of class monitor. This will be great honor and a kind of help to our Kai family." "All right, Grandpa," Gu Yue Kai Cheng replied loudly. "Heh heh heh, this spirit is how the heir to our Kai branch should be like. Grandson, you must work hard. I will do my best to help you." Almost at the same moment in another place. Honorary father and mother, that was pretty much how things went. Fang Zheng stood straight, his tone respectful and cautious. In the hall, Fang Yuan's uncle Gu Yue Dong too, as well as his aunt, sat in their wide-back huge chairs frowning. Aunt gnawed her teeth. While feeling injustice for Fang Zheng, and at the same time gloating over the matter, she said, "Fang Yuan, that bastard son, him extorting others is one thing, but to think he would not even spare his own younger brother. How heartless and unfeeling. However, this time, with such a huge crime, I expect he will be expelled from the academy soon after this." "That's enough, you should talk less." Uncle heaved in a deep sigh and told Fang Zheng, "You only lost a piece of primeval stone, don't worry. Go to the treasury and pick up a stone, there is no business for you here now. You must go and work hard in cultivating. With your grade talent, becoming the first middle stage Gu master is a huge possibility. Do not waste the talent that heaven blessed you with, for your mother and I look forward to seeing you become number one." "Yes, father and mother, your son takes his leave." Fang Zheng left with a heart full of trepidation. He secretly thought, Big Brother robbed all the students when he blocked the academy gates today. He created such a terrible aftermath, I'm afraid he might really be expelled. If that happens, should I plead on his case for him? Two voices appeared in his head. A voice said, "No need to plead for him, he even robbed your primeval stone away although you were his own young brother. Even if he was expelled, that was his own fault. If heaven commits a sin, it can be forgiven, but if one commits a sin himself, he deserves to die." Another voice said, "But he is your very own older brother, he shares a similar face, his blood thicker than water. All right, even if you do not acknowledge him, you still must plead his case. If you do not do so, how will the outsiders look at you? I'm afraid they might think of you as a heartless and ungrateful person." Seeing Fang Zheng leave the hall, Aunt could not help but exclaim happily, "Husband, we cut off Fang Yuan's living expenses. This little bastard finally couldn't stand it and went off committing a huge error. To actually dare to block the academy gates and fight in public, not to mention extortion, this is the equivalent of provoking the academy elder. I dare say the time for him getting expelled is very near." However, Uncle shook his head. "You think too simply of things. Fang Yuan will not be expelled. In fact, there may not be any punishment." "Why?" Aunt was puzzled. Uncle snorted. "Brawls and fights are encouraged as long as there are no heavy consequences. Did any students die in this fight?" "No." Aunt refused to comply. "Husband, how would you know there weren't any casualties? There are always accidents happening from fighting." Uncle closed his eyes, leaning against the back of his chair. "Woman, you are really naive. Do you really think the academy elder is just for show? When did the guards start acting? They came out at the last moment. This means that the entire scene was under control. If someone was heavily injured, they would have rushed over a long time ago, not at the last moments. You are not a Gu master, so you won't understand. The academy does not forbid brawls among the students, but in fact they maintain an encouraging attitude towards it. The more brawls there are, the more helpful it would be for battles. Some students can even create strong bonds through fighting. The elders will not pursue this. It is already a routine. If anyone wants to take action on behalf of their offspring, it would break the rules." Aunt was dumbfounded as she heard this, and she replied in an unsatisfied manner, "Then nothing's going to happen to Fang Yuan, who robbed away such a huge amount of primeval stones. He's just going to be let go like that. With such a big number of primeval stones, it will bring a lot of help to his cultivation." Uncle opened his eyes, his face cloudy. "What else can we do? Are you expecting me to go over by myself and snatch away all his primeval stones? However, this matter is not something that we cannot exploit. For Fang Yuan to rob and extort even his own brother Fang Zheng, this is the key to his fall. Fang Zheng is a grade talent. He will definitely be stronger than Fang Yuan one day. We will use this matter to divide and sow discord in Fang Zheng. We'll lead Fang Zheng away from Fang Yuan for our own use." And with that, 3 days passed. The disturbance that Fang Yuan caused from his robbery and extortion did not spread nor grow bigger, but instead it gradually died down. No elders broke the rules and came to find trouble for Fang Yuan, and the academy elder naturally closed one eye and opened one eye, acting like nothing happened. Although in this period of time, there were 2 to 3 youngsters who refused to accept the truth of having their primeval stones taken, and they challenged Fang Yuan. But after Fang Yuan knocked them down easily, everyone became aware that if they did not train hard in martial arts, they would never beat Fang Yuan. Among these teenagers, a burst of mass fervor towards training hard in martial arts erupted. The martial arts instructor was overjoyed. He had never seen a batch of students so enthusiastic and dedicated towards martial arts. Before this, when he was teaching, the students were all lacking in interest, yawning all day. But right now they would constantly seek advice with eyes brimming with radiating vigor. The academy elder specially came over to inquire about his situation. The martial arts instructor had an excited tone as he reported, "The students have been showing unexpected enthusiasm, and this change is too great. Only one student among them called Fang Yuan remains as lazy as ever." The academy elder laughed and patted his shoulders. He said, "This student that you speak of is the cause of the other student's transformation." The martial arts instructor was puzzled, but of course the changes were more than this. After the incident, Fang Yuan had undoubtedly become the public enemy of the entire student batch. Everyone was hostile towards him and he was isolated. No longer did anyone speak to him, and no one greeted him. The youths exerted full force, training their basic techniques privately. With their parents' and elders' encouragement and inspirations, they had decided that they must reclaim their honor by their own hands. Under the calm surface, the undercurrent was surging. Another 4 days passed. The academy elder passed out the primeval stone allowance once more, and the time for Fang Yuan to act came again. "Fang Yuan, once wasn't enough for you. You still want to rob away our primeval stones again." The students were shocked and angry as Fang Yuan blocked them at the gates once more. Fang Yuan stood in the middle of the entrance, his hands behind his back, his expression cold and tone flat. "A piece of primeval stone per person, and you'll be spared of physical pain." "Fang Yuan, your bullying is excessive. I want to challenge you." Guyue Mobei roared angrily, coming out first. "Oh," Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows slightly. Mobei raised his fists and rushed forward. After a few rounds, he fainted onto the ground. "Mobei, you're too useless. Watch me." Guyue Kaicheng yelled loudly and dashed towards Fang Yuan. After a transition of attack and defense, he joined after Mobei's footsteps. Fang Yuan's battle experience was 10,000 times more than theirs. Although he only started cultivating, every force inflicted was used properly. Meanwhile, this bunch of students had only started their journey. If they came at him together, they might still be able to bring him a little trouble. But with them coming up to challenge him one by one, it was more relaxing than the first time of extortion. After 15 minutes, Fang Yuan leisurely walked away with a bulging money bag, leaving behind a floor full of youths. Some of them were lying motionless, and some were holding their bellies or clutching their crotch as they moaned and howled. "Brothers, time to come up and sweep the field fast," the guards shouted, and all rushed over. "I've trained hard in basic martial arts for 7 consecutive days, but to think I only managed to endure 2 strikes from Fang Yuan and lost consciousness afterwards. Shame, unforgivable shame," Guyue Mobei exclaimed, full of anguish and regret. In the family garden, he faced the wooden puppet, unleashing punches and kicks that were resulting in resounding echoes. Suddenly, he heard a laughing voice. "Little brother, do you have deep hatred for the puppet? Why the great resentment?" Upon hearing this familiar voice, Guyue Mobei relaxed and stopped his attacks. He turned his head. "Sister, you're back." "Aha, the family council sent me out for an investigation mission which lasted more than 10 days. Gu Yue Mo Yan laughingly replied. She was Mo Bei's blood-related sister, a rank 2 middle-stage Gu master. But soon her face turned grim, her eyes sharply gazing at Mo Bei. "Brother, what's the matter with those bruises on your face? Who bullied you?" "Ah, it's nothing. I accidentally tripped and fell." A hint of panic flashed across Mo Bei's face as he came up with an excuse. He did not wish for his sister to know of such an embarrassing event. The truth of the Mo family's future heir and the family head, Gu Yue Mo Chen's beloved grandson, consecutively knocked out twice in combat. But the fortunate thing was that he wasn't the only unlucky one. The others had suffered as well. "Oh, you have to be more careful in that case. As for your combat training, this won't do. You do not have a gut that enhances your defense right now, so use thick towels to cover yourself. This will protect your limbs from getting hurt," Gu Yue Mo Yen instructed before leaving. "Hello, young miss." "Good morning, young miss." "Young miss is back. Your servant greets you, miss." Gu Yue Mo Yan hastily walked with a cold demeanor, and the servants she met on the way bowed and paid respects to her without fail. She walked to the study room. Without any warning, Mo Yan pushed the door and entered through. Inside the room, Gu Yue Mo Chen was practicing his calligraphy art with his back facing her. "You're back?" Gu Yue Mo Chen asked directly without turning his body. "After investigating for half a month, what is the situation with the wolves' den?" "How did you know it's me, grandfather?" Mo Yan gasped, slightly taken aback. "HMPH, in the entire family, you're the only person that dares to enter my room without even knocking the door once. Who else can it be besides you, my beloved granddaughter?" Gu Yue Mo Chen reprimanded, although his face showed traces of concern and warmth, and he looked at Mo Yan with a smile. Mo Yan pouted. "When it comes to doting, you actually adore little brother more. However, since he's the future family head, you are more strict on him so others cannot sense your concern for him." After a while she asked, "Grandfather, little brother was beaten up. I asked him and he lied about the situation, so I had no choice but to ask you." Gu Yue Mo Chen's face turned serious. "You have not answered my question." He put down his brush and sat down. Mo Yan reluctantly reported, "The wolves' den is almost full, so according to the current rate of breeding speed. Although there won't be an outbreak this year, there will definitely be a wolf tide next year at our mountain village." Gu Yue Mo Chen inquired again. "Generally there's an outbreak every 3 years, so this is no surprise. However, within that horde, how many Thunder Crown wolves are there?" "Around 3. Gu Yue Mo Chen nodded, feeling assured. The Thunder Crown wolves were the head of the pack, and were the most troublesome to deal with during an outbreak. 3 wasn't a large number since Qingmao Mountain had 3 clan villages. Each village could handle 1 wolf, and the pressure of the outbreak would be greatly reduced. "Grandfather, you have not told me about my little brother's matter yet," Mo Yan pursued again. "I suppose there's no matter telling you, but he was beaten up. The first time was 7 days ago, and the second time happened today. It happened in front of the school gates, and he was beaten until he sprawled on the ground and fainted on both occasions." Gu Yue Mo Chen laughingly replied. "Who has the guts to knock out my little brother?" Mo Yan stared wide-eyed. "He's a classmate of Mo Bei called Fang Yuan. He fights really well," Gu Yue Mo Chen sniggered. Gu Yue Mo Yan's eyes grew larger, and she was perplexed as she replied, "Grandfather, what are you saying? He is your own blood-related grandson." Gu Yue Mo Chen stared deeply at his granddaughter and spoke meaningfully. "Mo Yan, my dear, you are a girl so you may not understand. Defeat and humiliation only serve as fuel for improvement. Without failure, one can never develop and grow into a true, mature man. Mo Bei was defeated, and that is his own failure. Once he wakes up, he will ask fighting techniques from the teachers. This is a sort of improvement, and this improvement comes from Fang Yuan, who beat him into realization. As his sister, if you really care and want to protect your brother, You should not interfere with his growth. Fang Yuan is just a boy with C-grade talent while Mo Bei has B-grade talent. With us supporting him, he will step over Fang Yuan and drive him into the ground eventually. Leave this opponent to Mo Bei. In a woman's life, she needs a family and a lover. But for a man, a family is not a necessity, yet what he cannot lack is a rival. Do not find trouble with Fang Yuan, do you hear me? This is a matter between the youths. If you get involved, this will be perceived as bullying. Breaking the rules like that will cause our Mo family to be looked down upon. Mo Yan gasped wordlessly, but under Gu Yue Mo Chen's gaze, she finally lowered her head. Yes, grandfather, your granddaughter understands. She staggered out of the study room, but even Gu Yue Mo Chen did not notice. Her eyes shined ominously. Grandfather, this is your way of loving your grandson, and I, Mo Yan, have my own methods. Mo Yan's heart already had different plans. Ali. In the inn's dining room, several tables were occupied and people were having dinner, thus the environment was rather lively. One or two waiters served dishes rapidly, traversing between tables. Fang Yuan sat at the table near the windows. He ordered a few dishes and ate while gazing out of the window. Looking out, the sunset looked like fire, slowly burning away. Half of the sun had already set. It longingly gazed at the lands, its afterglow being the sun's reluctance. Far up the mountains, it was already veiled by the seeping nightfall. The streets nearby were gathered full of people who were going home. Some of them were barefooted, some muddy farmers, some of them herb pickers, some hunters holding mountain pheasants, wild boars and other animals, and some were Gu masters. They wore a blue uniform, looking clean and spirited, a headband and a waist belt completing their appearance. The belt had a specific function. For rank 1 Gu masters, it was a blue belt. There was a bronze plate at the front, and the number 1 could be seen. For rank 2 Gu masters, their belt was red, and the steel plate in the middle showed the number 2. Sitting at the side of the window, Fang Yuan observed that there were 6 to 7 rank 1 Gu masters, and they were mostly young men. There was also a rank 2 Gu master, a middle-aged man. As for rank 3 Gu masters, they were the family elders, and 4th rank would be the clan head, the lord of a village. Rank 5 Gu masters were hardly seen, and in the entire history of the Gu Yue clan, there were only the 1st-generation clan head and the 4th-generation clan head who had reached this level. Actually, finding out a clan's strength is very simple. Just find a spot in the village, settle down and observe the people for a few hours. See how many rank 1 and rank 2 Gu masters there are, and you'll be able to see the clan's strength and wealth. Fang Yuan came to a conclusion with his accumulated knowledge of 500 years. Using the Gu Yue village as an example, there were around 20 people walking on the streets, and 6 were Gu masters. In these 6, there was a 50% chance of having one rank 2 Gu master. With this strength and capital, the Gu Yue clan managed to monopolize one of the best resource locations in Qingmao Mountain. But the mountain was just a small corner in the entire area of the southern border. The Gu Yue clan could only be considered as a middle-low-tier clan. I have only started my cultivation, and with rank 1 initial stage, I do not even have the qualification to roam the southern border. I need at least rank 3 cultivation to be able to further roam the world, Fang Yuan sighed as he consumed his dinner. Qingmao Mountain was too small. It could not contain his ambitions, and he was determined to leave. Haha, Gu Yue Fang Yuan, I have finally found you. At this moment, a middle-aged man laughed deviously as he approached. Fang Yuan turned slightly to see a man with a yellowish skin tone and hanging brows, but he had a huge body size and developed muscles. He strode several steps to Fang Yuan with his arms folded and proudly stared at the youth who was still consuming his dinner, with a hint of hostility. Fang Yuan, you've gotten yourself into huge trouble, do you know that? Heh. You have dared to hit our young master of the Mo family, and now our young miss is here to settle the score with you. The middle-aged man snickered continuously. He constantly stared and sized up Fang Yuan, faintly emitting a threatening aura. If a normal person was stared at by this middle-aged man, they would have probably developed fear in their hearts already. However, Fang Yuan lost interest after looking at him for a second and continued focusing on his meal, treating this man as if he were invisible. Who's that guy? He wears the clothing of a family servant, and he is not a Gu master. Why would he dare to question young Master Fang Yuan? An employee wondered as he hid at the corner of the inn, sensing that the situation may turn ugly. HMPH, he's like a fox assuming a tiger's ferocity. By using the Mo family as his backing, this servant man dares to clamor at a Gu master. If it were any other mortal man, they wouldn't have the guts to do this. Someone beside the employee replied in disdain. Even so, as a mere mortal, he has the guts to cause a ruckus towards a Gu master. Tusk, this kind of experience must feel really great. You shouldn't think that a Gu master is always high and mighty. Young Master Fang Yuan is merely a rank 1 initial stage Gu master, and he has just managed to refine his vital Gu. If they were to fight now, he may not be the opponent of this muscular and strong mortal. Let's just hope that when they fight later, they will spare our inn and the furniture. The employees chattered back and forth, but none dared to take a step forward, only staring from a distance. You still have the mood to continue eating. Seeing as how he did not manage to intimidate or scare Fang Yuan, the muscular middle-aged man had a hint of doubt in his eyes. Do you think I'm lying to you? There are already people reporting to young miss, and she will be here shortly. Do not attempt to run away, young lad, because you won't be able to get away. My job here is to make sure you stay put. There will be much suffering for you later. Fang Yuan paid no heed to the man and continued eating his meal. The middle-aged servant frowned as he did not see a hint of panic or shock from Fang Yuan. This made him feel ignored, and his pride was severely offended. He had been a servant in the Mo family for over a decade, and he had acquired the trust of his master. Over a long period, he would naturally come to learn about the details of Gu masters. Rank 1 Gu masters mostly relied on their physical combat skills. In battle, a Gu worm's worth was attributed more to its deterrence factor than as a fighting force. He knew especially that for a young Gu master like Fang Yuan who had just started cultivating, his physical strength was far inferior when compared to a grown man. If it came down to close combat, he who had trained for many years would gain the upper advantage. At the same time, Fang Yuan had supposedly only refined the Moonlight Gu, so at the max, he would only be able to shoot out several moonblades. The middle-aged man was used as a sparring partner from a long time ago, so he knew deeply that if a rank 1 initial stage Gu master were to use his primeval essence to unleash the moonblade, the most it could do was cut several palm-sized wounds and cause limited damage if it managed to hit the human body. Additionally, the man had the backing of the Mo family, so when he confronted Fang Yuan he had no fear, and was wholeheartedly trying to show off his worth to his masters so that he could be rewarded and deemed more useful to the family. Young lad, you sure are courageous. The middle-aged man's tone was turning unfriendly as he folded up his sleeves, revealing his well-toned and muscular forearms. His 2 arms were large and full of scars. The forearms had thick protruding veins and were even thicker than Fang Yuan's legs. The inn employees watched in fear, and several customers were already getting up, paying the bills and leaving this land of conflict. Fang Yuan has been found. Suddenly, the door emitted a proud, loud female voice. Mo Yan strode forward in big steps and entered the inn. Behind her were numerous family servants. Her body figure was decent, slightly tall and had the proper curves, but a long face like a horse's, an inherited gene from the Mo bloodline, caused her looks to be greatly affected, and thus she was only a middle-upper-tier beauty. However, she wore a dark blue uniform and a red belt, affixed with a square steel plate tied around her waistline. The steel plate was engraved with a 2. Additionally, she had just returned from after a clan mission, so there was still lingering traces of the hardship that she had just gone through. These added up to create a field of pressure and threat that was emitted to her surroundings. Thus, once she stepped into the inn, the entire place went silent under her aura. "Your servant greets you, young miss." The middle-aged man changed his attitude completely upon seeing Mo Yan. He tried to smile charmingly, and he bent his body as he walked a few steps and knelt on the floor, greeting Mo Yan. Upon seeing this change in behavior, the workers in the inn could only stare in shock with their mouths wide open. The tall and muscular figure, as opposed to his humble groveling attitude, was a great mismatch and was seemingly amusing. But the employees of the inn did not laugh, as his behavior only greatly showed off Mo Yan's imposing pressure and status. Some of the inn workers could not help but worry for Fang Yuan, as he was their major customer. If something were to happen to him and made him unable to patronize the inn any further, it would be a huge loss. More of them were secretly praying for Fang Yuan to surrender. If a fight really broke out and destroyed the inn's property, that would be worse. Mo Yan did not even take a look at the groveling Gao Wan. Her eyes were fixed on Fang Yuan. She took a few steps forward and demanded in a fierce tone, "So you are Fang Yuan? You seem to be having a good meal. Hehe, have you ever had a knuckle sandwich? I'll give you a taste of it, it might be even more delicious." Even though she said that, Mo Yan did not make a move. Fang Yuan's actions were too calm. It was strange. Did he have any secret backers that were protecting him? But it shouldn't be so. I've checked before coming. This Fang Yuan only has an uncle and aunt that dislike him, while both his parents are deceased, and he even got chased out of the house by his uncle and aunt. In addition, he only has C-rank talent, so how could such a weak young man have any sort of background? Mo Yan thought in her mind. Regardless of this, the situation was still too peculiar. She had to test and probe further. Fang Yuan laughed and squinted at Mo Yan, saying, "Who told you I was Gu Yue Fang Yuan?" Mo Yan was momentarily stunned. Then she took a look at Gao Wan. He had just stood up, but upon seeing this, he immediately knelt back down with sweat pouring out of his forehead. He stammered and could not give a coherent reply. "Master, your servant, your servant." They had a drawing of Fang Yuan, but they did not know that Fang Yuan and Fang Zheng were twins that looked almost identical. No wonder this young man looked like he had no fear. He is actually Fang Zheng and not Fang Yuan. Mo Yan's servants guessed in their minds. Fang Yuan cannot be compared to Fang Zheng. The former is merely a C-ranked loner with no background. The latter, however, has a ranked talent and was pulled into the clan head's faction at the awakening ceremony, and as long as he grows smoothly, he has a bright future ahead. Mo Yan did not get proper a reply from Gao Wan, causing her to be even more hesitant. At this point, the only ones who knew Fang Yuan's identity were the inn employees. However, they could not afford to offend either parties, so they only kept their mouths shut. Fang Yuan was satiated from his meal. He stood up and glanced lightly at Mo Yan. "You want to find Fang Yuan? Come with me, I'll bring you to the school hostel to look for him. If the person in front of me is Fang Zheng, I would not want to offend him. However, even if he is really Fang Yuan, I will follow him closely on this trip, so I have no fear of him impersonating Fang Zheng." In an instant, Mo Yan made up her mind. "All right, I will go together with you to the school hostel. After you." Mo Yan turned her body to make space for Fang Yuan, stretching out her arm and indicating for Fang Yuan to take the lead. Fang Yuan laughed nonchalantly and strode forth. Mo Yan followed closely behind with her servants trailing at the back. "So close. They're finally gone. Even if they start fighting, it is none of our inn's business anymore." The employees that were left behind all sighed in relief as they patted their chests. A group of people approached the school hostel. Halt! Stop right there. The school hostel only allows our clan's Gu masters to enter and leave. The two guards at the door stopped Fang Yuan, Mo Yan and her gang. Insolent, do you not recognize who I am? How dare you stop me? Mo Yan stared at the two and screamed. We dare not, the two guards hurriedly gestured. Young Miss Mo Yan, this guard holds you in high regards. However, the clan rules are absolute, so how about this? You can bring one servant in. This is the most we can do for you. An elderly guard politely responded. Mo Yan clicked her tongue. Her heart was full of dissatisfaction, yet in the presence of the clan rules, she did not dare to break them. The Mo family was prosperous, and thus they had many enemies. Do not forget that aside from the Mo family branch, there was also the Kai family to contend with. Apart from the Kai family, the clan head's faction also wanted to get a hold on the Mo family. All of you stay behind. Gao Wan will follow me. Thinking about it, Mo Yan gave her orders. Gao Wan immediately held his chest up high with a look of joy on his face. Thank you, young miss, for the opportunity. Let's go, Junior. Mo Yan smiled at Fang Yuan with a questioning look. Fang Yuan remained unfazed as he led them in. He reached the dormitory door, opened the lock and pushed the door open. He then took a step into the room and stopped. Within the room there was nothing extra. It was all simple furniture and there was no one else. Mo Yan stood at the doorstep, took a look inside and her face turned grim. Junior, you better explain yourself well, there is no one in the room. Fang Yuan smiled faintly. Aren't I someone? Mo Yan stared at Fang Yuan, a glint flashing in her eyes as she suddenly seemed to have understood. I am looking for Gu Yue Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan snickered. You know, I never said that I was Gu Yue Fang Yuan. Mo Yan frowned, then her rage burst forth almost instantly as she suddenly understood that she had been fooled by Fang Yuan. You are tremendously brave to even consider lying to me. While speaking, she stretched out her right hand to grab hold of Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan stood firmly on the spot. He raised his head and laughed. Mo Yan, you better think this through. Mo Yan stopped her actions. While she still stood right outside the door, her outstretched hand paused in midair and her face showed a sign of hesitation and resentment. Within the family, there were relevant rules. Students in the dormitories were protected, and any other person would not be allowed to intrude upon the hostel to capture the students. Mo Yan only wished to teach Fang Yuan a lesson and let him bear a taste of suffering. She definitely did not want to risk getting punished for breaking the rules. If it's only me who broke the rules, that would still be fine. However, if this would affect the family and even grandfather's honor. Thinking of this, Mo Yan reluctantly withdrew her arm. She looked at Fang Yuan, who was inside the house with her bloodshot eyes. If her death stare could be converted into fire, it would burn Fang Yuan to ashes in a second. I never lied to you. I said I would bring you to Fang Yuan, and now you have already found him here. It seems you have something to say to me. Fang Yuan smiled faintly with his arms behind his back, ignoring the pressure of a rank 2 Gu master, fearlessly making eye contact with Mo Yan's furious gaze. He was just a step apart from Mo Yan. One stood within the house, and one stayed outside. But this same distance had also become as far as the east was from the west. Hehe, oh Fang Yuan, you sure have studied the clan rules well and thoroughly. Mo Yan, suppressing her anger, said with a sinister smile. She added, unfortunately for you, even while relying on the rules, all it will do for you is to stall for time. There is no way you are staying in the dormitories forever. I'll see how long you can stand hiding in there. Fang Yuan laughed refreshingly and looked at Mo Yan with disdain. Then all the more I want to see how long you can disturb me. Ah, it is already late. I have a bed to sleep in, but what about you? If I do not show up for class tomorrow and the elders come to investigate, what do you think I will say? You, Mo Yan flew into a rage, her fingers pointing at Fang Yuan, barely restraining herself. "Do you really think I wouldn't dare come in and take you down?" Squeak. Fang Yuan opened the doors of the hostel wide open, his lips breaking into a grin, his eyes dark like the abyss and his tone full of confidence as if the situation was within his grasp. He challenged Mo Yan. "Then show me." Heh. Mo Yan calmed down instead upon seeing this. Her eyes squinted as she looked at Fang Yuan and she said, "Do you think I'd fall for your goading?" Fang Yuan shrugged. He had already seen through Mo Yan's personality. If he had closed the door, or even half shut it, Mo Yan had at least a 50% probability of breaking into the house. But when he purposely opened it fully, it had instead made her more wary and calm as a result. Thus, there was barely any chance of her forcing her way in anymore. 500 years of experience had already made him fully aware of the human nature and their weaknesses. He grandly turned around, exposing his back fully to Mo Yan. If Mo Yan struck now, she would definitely be able to capture him in one swift action. However, Mo Yan stayed still outside the door as if there was an invisible mountain blocking her way. Even after Fang Yuan sat in his bed, Mo Yan only stared at him in anger, gritting her teeth. But regardless of this, she did not make a move. This is the pathetic side of humans. Fang Yuan sat up and stared at Mo Yan, who was outside looking like a fool, thinking to himself, "At times, the things preventing people from taking action is not physical difficulty, but instead it is the restrictions they have placed on themselves subconsciously." When comparing cultivation levels, Fang Yuan was definitely not her match at this point in time. But even with her rank 2 cultivation level, she could only stare at Fang Yuan and had no courage to make a move. Her distance from him was only a few steps away, and the door was wide open with no hindrance. The only thing that was truly restricting her was none other than herself. Humanity sought for knowledge relentlessly to understand the world and to comprehend the rules, and ultimately to use them. If one is constantly bound by the rules, thus being restricted by the very knowledge they sought, that is the ultimate tragedy. Fang Yuan took a final look at Mo Yan before closing his eyes and letting his consciousness sink into the primeval sea. "This Fang Yuan dares to cultivate right in front of me. He is simply doing so as he pleases." Looking at this sight, Mo Yan felt a sense of frustration erupting from her chest, making her almost wanting to vomit blood. She badly wanted to go ahead and give him a few punches. But she knew she couldn't. Mo Yan suddenly felt a hint of regret. Standing outside the door, she felt the awkwardness of not being able to back down. She was indignant to give up now, but she would be devastatingly humiliated. She mobilized her servants with the intention to come and teach Fang Yuan a lesson, yet in the end, she was the one who ended up becoming the laughing stock. Especially when there was a servant looking at her now. "Damn it, Fang Yuan is way too uncooperative. He's too sly." Mo Yan furiously thought and started to provoke him with all sorts of insults, hopping to force him out of the room. "Fang Yuan, you brat, come out if you're a man." "Fang Yuan, as a man you must own up to your own doings. Now you're being a coward hiding in that room. Do you not feel ashamed of yourself? Stop pretending to ignore me. Get out if you know what's good for you. You cowardly, spineless trash." Fang Yuan shut his ears and did not give a single response. After scolding for a while instead of venting all her anger, she felt even more irritated. She was starting to feel like a clown or a shrew. Blocking the door was just way too embarrassing. "Ahhhhhh, this is getting to the death of me." Mo Yan was about to go crazy, and she finally gave up on provoking Fang Yuan. "Fang Yuan, you can hide now, but you can't hide from me forever." She furiously stomped the ground and left indignantly. Before leaving, she gave a final order. "Gao Wan, stand there and watch him. I do not believe he will not leave the house." "Yes, master," the muscular servant, Gao Wan, rapidly replied and sent Mo Yan off. Within his heart he was feeling bitter, The mountain was chilly and breezy at night. He would have to stand guard the entire time, catching a cold easily like this. It was not an easy task. Swish swoosh. Within the primeval sea, ebb and flow of the tides raged on. The green copper primeval essence gathered like water, forcing a tidal wave rolling about. Under Fang Yuan's mental guidance, the waves endlessly crashed towards the surrounding aperture walls. A Rank 1 initial stage Gu Master's aperture walls resembled a white barrier. At this time, with the green copper primeval essence crashing towards them, it produced shadows of light, creating an indescribable feeling. Time passed gradually, and the level of the green copper primeval sea slowly declined. From the original 44%, it dropped to 12%. If a Gu master wants to raise their cultivation level, they would have to expend their primeval essence to nurture the aperture. Initial stage Gu masters have light barriers as their aperture walls, while middle stage Gu masters have water barriers as their aperture walls, and for upper stage, they have stone barriers. For me to cultivate from initial stage to middle stage, I will have to nurture the light barrier into water barrier aperture walls. From his 500 years of memories, Fang Yuan had complete familiarity with the current stages of cultivation, and the methods were as clear as day to him. He slowly opened his eyes, only to see that it was already late into the night. The crescent moon hung high in the night sky, the moonlight shining pure as water. The door was wide open, and the moonlight shone in, letting Fang Yuan think of a famous poem from Earth. On a quiet night, I saw the moonlight before my couch, and wondered if it were not the frost on the ground. The night winds blew with a hint of chilliness. Fang Yuan did not have any warmth-type Gu, and with just the body of a 15-year-old, he could not help but shiver slightly. The night in the mountain was very cold. Scoundrel, you finally opened your eyes. How long are you planning to be cultivating there? Get out, you'll be punished regardless. You beat up our young master Mo Bei, so it was only a matter of time before young Miss teaches you a lesson. Seeing that Fang Yuan had woken up, Gao Wan, who was standing at the door, got his spirits up. Fang Yuan squinted. It seemed that the rank 2 female Gu master had left. Scoundrel, did you hear me? Hurry and come out here. You have a room to stay in and a bed to sleep, but I had to stand here all night. If you don't come out any time soon, don't you believe I might just barge in? Seeing no reaction from Fang Yuan, Gao Wan threatened. Fang Yuan remained unfazed. Scumbag, come out and surrender yourself. You've offended the Mo family. You will not have any good days from now on. Hurry and apologize to young miss and maybe she might just forgive you. Gao Wan continued to chide. Fang Yuan did not listen to a single word. He took out a primeval stone from his storage bag and held it in his hands, finally closing his eyes again. Seeing that he was going to continue cultivating, Gao Wan was anxious and broke into a fit. You mere C-rank talent, the most you can achieve in life is a rank 2 Gu master. What is there to cultivate? You are no match for the entire Mo family by yourself. Kid, are you deaf? Did you listen to a single word I said? Fang Yuan paid no heed to the man and started to multitask. He simultaneously absorbed the natural essence from the primeval stone and observed his aperture. The primeval sea level, which had originally fell drastically within the aperture, with help from the constant stream of natural essence, began to slowly rise up again. This form of recovery speed was inevitably slow, but Fang Yuan was in no hurry. Cultivation was meant to be accumulative. It could not be rushed. The urgent matter at hand was in fact the middle-aged servant outside the house. After half an hour, Fang Yuan's green copper primeval sea reached 44%, the maximum capacity it could hold. But this was not the end. At this point, the primeval sea showed a jade-green color. This was only a rank 1 initial stage green copper primeval essence. The primeval essence that Fang Yuan had previously used to nurture the aperture wall was no longer initial stage primeval essence. It had been turned into middle-stage primeval essence, refined by the liquor worm. Liquor worm. With a thought from Fang Yuan, the liquor worm within the primeval sea instantly flew out and hovered in midair, its body curling into a ball form, resembling a white rice ball. Swoosh! 10% of his initial stage primeval essence was deployed and sent into the liquor worm's body, and soon the essence was fully absorbed by it. Soon after, a surge of liquor mist emerged from the liquor worm's body and congregated into a lump. Once more, Fang Yuan deployed 10% of his primeval essence and invested it into this liquor mist. Once the mist had been fully expended, the original 10% of initial stage primeval essence shrunk by half physically, and at the same time the color changed from jade green to pale green. This is middle stage primeval essence. In order to advance in their cultivation, ordinary students all use initial stage primeval essence. However, I'll be using middle stage primeval essence, and the efficiency is at least twice of theirs. Similarly, when using middle stage primeval essence to activate the moonlight goo and throw a moonblade, it will be far stronger than activating it using initial stage primeval essence. Only when all the primeval essence in the primeval sea had been converted to middle stage primeval essence did Fang Yuan open his eyes. Time passes in the blink of an eye when cultivating, and at this point it was already midnight. The sky was no longer a pure black, but it had turned a deep dark blue color. The moon was no longer visible, and only a few lingering stars remained. The door was open almost throughout the entire night, and a corner of the wooden door was already wet, showing a dark color as the water tainted it. The school hostel had this disadvantage. It was not as comfortable as an ordinary wooden lodge that was built above the ground, but it was directly built on the ground and thus it had high humidity. Coming back to reality, Fang Yuan felt a chill down his spine. After sitting cross-legged for such a long time, both his legs felt numb. He opened his clenched right fist and scattered a handful of white stone powder. This was the primeval stone after its essence had been fully absorbed, and what remained was only the leftover powder. After a night of cultivation, I had expended 3 primeval stones. Fang Yuan calculated in his mind. He had C-ranked talent, but in order to pursue faster cultivation speed, he used primeval stones to replenish his primeval essence. What was more crucial was the liquor worm, as it had been used to refine his middle stage primeval essence. This had greatly increased the expenditure of his primeval stones. Although I plundered another sum of primeval stones yesterday, a night of cultivation cost me 3 stones. In this case, although it might seem that I have a lot of resources, it is unable to sustain me for a long time with my current cultivation speed. But this is the price I have to pay for pursuing cultivation speed and efficiency. Fang Yuan looked outside the room again, only to see Gao Wan, the muscular servant, squatting at a corner with his body curled up, seemingly fallen asleep. Looks like that rank 2 female Gu master had left long ago, leaving this Gao Wan here to keep a watch on me. He. Fang Yuan revealed a cold smile as he got off the bed and began to exercise his limbs. Once his body had warmed up, he left the hostel. Lad, you finally decided to come out. So how about it? Obediently surrender and leave with me to kowtow and apologize to our young miss. Gao Wan's ears caught Fang Yuan's footsteps and he stood up immediately. His muscular body was almost twice the size of Fang Yuan. The muscles in his body tightened and his brows knitted together, a pair of cruel eyes shining with evil light, resembling a starving hyena. Fang Yuan expressionlessly walked towards him. Lad, you should have came out earlier. By coming out now, do you know how much the great me had to suffer by watching over you? He snickered while approaching Fang Yuan, evidently planning something sinister. At this moment, Fang Yuan lightly cried out, and with a ferocious leap he aimed both fists towards Gao Wan. Bastard, you're courting death. Gao Wan's face, distorted with rising anger within him, raised his brick-sized fist, and he punched towards Fang Yuan. The fist was extremely powerful, slicing through air, and the swooshing sound of the wind could be heard. Fang Yuan's eyes shone clear as crystal. Seeing that the fist was approaching close, he sidestepped and turned towards Gao Wan's rear. Stretching out a finger, he struck towards Gao Wan's waist. Gao Wan blocked with his retracted arm. Fang Yuan did not get a clear hit and ended up hitting onto Gao Wan's left forearm. Fang Yuan's finger felt like it had hit a steel plate, painful and numb. This Gao Wan has already approached the limits of a mortal's physical prowess. Right now I can only use the moonlight goo to fight, and without any other goo worms to assist me, I am not his match at basic close combat. Fang Yuan's eyes shone, and he decided quickly to give up on attacking. Instead, he retracted a few steps and pulled some distance away from Gao Wan. In the Gu Yue village, only the Gu Yue clansmen had the rights to cultivate as a Gu master. The outsiders, regardless of whether they had cultivation talent or not, had no rights to attend the awakening ceremony. But these mortals could train in physical combat. Just like the Gao Wan here, although he was not a Gu master, he had trained vigorously in his punches and kicks, and his basic skill was steadfast. Additionally, he was a middle-aged man, and this meant being at the physical prime in a mortal's lifetime. Fang Yuan, other than having the moonlight goo to fight, had only the body of a 15-year-old teenager. Be it strength, agility, or endurance, he was not Gao Wan's match. Martial artists like Gao Wan were sufficient enough to kill a rank 1 initial stage Gu master. Even towards a rank 1 middle stage Gu master, they still posed a certain threat. This lad is too sneaky. Seeing that Fang Yuan had drawn some distance between them, Gao Wan felt anxiety within his heart. The waist was a vital point of the body, and if it was damaged by someone through brute force, the harm was not negligible. If the force was exerted beyond a point, it could also be deadly. Gao Wan had waited outside the hostel for the entire night, and thus his body was enshrouded by the moist atmosphere, causing his reaction speed to be slightly slower. Hence the strike earlier had almost succeeded. Fortunately, although he was a bootlicker, he had trained hard in his physical ability. So at the crucial moment his body's reflex instinctively reacted and allowed him to narrowly block Fang Yuan's attack. I can't be careless anymore. This lad behaves like a wolf, striking harsh and deviously, getting his way whenever I am even but a little careless. No wonder young master was knocked out by him twice. Gao Wan wiped the sweat off his forehead and swept away all hints of contempt. He started to take his opponent seriously. If I can capture this lad, it'd be a great accomplishment. Young Miss is sure to reward me. A rank 1 initial stage's moonblade is at max only like a small dagger, so as long as it does not hit my vital points it'll merely be a light external injury. Thinking of this, Gao Wan's heart started to beat faster. Stretching out his shovel-like hands, he grabbed at Fang Yuan. Boom, boom, boom. Fang Yuan showed no fear and approached Gao Wan to engage in close combat. Exchanging punches and kicks, taking turns attacking and defending, loud impact sounds echoed through the area. When plundering the students, he had only used his palm with his objective being to control the crowd. But now when engaging with Gao Wan, Fang Yuan had gone all out. At times he used his fingers to jab at the eyes, sometimes strangling the throat, hitting the jaw with the base of his palm, chopping at the back of his opponent's head, using the knee to strike the pelvic area, or using his hands to grab at the waist. Gao Wan's sweat poured out like a river. Fang Yuan's moves were all aiming at the vital points, each strike devious and deadly, as if he wanted to end Gao Wan's life right there. Gao Wan was a mere mortal, and unlike the Gu masters, although he trained well in his physical combat, his vital points remained vital. Mortals were unable to train their eyelids to become steel-like. This was the limits of the mortal martial arts. In addition, Gao Wan did not dare to unleash any deadly moves on Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was a Gu Yue clansman, so killing him would incur public rage, and he would be immediately executed. In fact, the Mo family will be the first to carry out his punishment. Thus his only thought was to capture Fang Yuan alive, and it would be good if he could make Fang Yuan suffer in the process of capture. One side has apprehension, while the other side had killing intent. The situation thus became Fang Yuan suppressing Gao Wan in the fight.